Yeah, big up, guys. Kraz-e-ekraz YouTube. This is round 2, GT World Series. Come get some. It's the Cup Finals. Thank you.
This is going to be hugely exciting, and the track is wet. We knew that weather was going to come into it. We weren't quite expecting it, though, at the start of the race. So who's going to plump for what tyres, and who will be leading down towards the first corner, crucially, as well. Kylian Drumont starts this one on pole position, a legacy of his victory in the sprint race. He's joined on the front row by his countryman, Thomas Le Boutellé. Sasaki heads row 2, and he has got Kai de Bruin for company. Unlucky to miss out on a podium here earlier on. Pol Jura heads the third row of the grid, and he's got Valerio Gallo alongside him. Gallo, of course, making good progress, as we said, in that sprint race. Jose Serrano next up in P7, and Takuma Miyazono, who is the favourite in the Predict the Winner campaign, lines up P8 with Adriano Carrazza very close behind, and then Angel Inestrosa, the two South Americans, on the penultimate row of the grid. Guy Barbara in 11th position, and rounding it out is Samuel Cardinal, the Canadian. So we know the track is wet, and everybody has decided to start on the intermediate compound of tyre. Well, looking at the fact that there's some wet patches, but they're mostly offline here, Jimmy, that seems pretty sensible to me. Yeah, but it does mean if you're going side by side with someone, there are patches of the circuit that your intermediate tyre are not going to be able to deal with. So it's something to think about when overtaken. Also, is that these guys, I can guarantee they practice mostly in the dry. So this is going to be maybe uncharted territory for them. I expect they'll struggle a little bit, but it'll definitely make the racing more entertaining, I think. Certainly will. Well, penny for the thoughts of that man, Kylian Drumont, and what's going to be running through his mind at the moment. Sitting on pole position with his countryman Thomas Le Boutellé behind. They put in a great formation in that sprint race, but can they repeat it here in this grand final? They're out of the final corner and coming to the timing line. This, of course, is the all-important race for points for Gran Turismo World Series 2 for the Nations Cup. We drive to the line here at the Red Bull Ring. Weather in play, and 30 laps of action to come. The lights go green, and we go racing for the grand final of the Nations Cup here in Berlin. So Drumont leads them up to turn 1, and then Le Boutellé, then Sasaki, but it's turn 3, the first big braking zone. That's the real opportunity for overtaking. And Drumont, of course, does not have the advantage of the slipstream, but he did have the advantage of a nice clean run out of the first corner. Sasaki looks to try and pounce here on Le Boutellé. On the brakes we go. It's very close behind there as well. Serrano versus Jura. De Bruyn's into the side of Sasaki as well. That's going to drop Sasaki down a few places, and Gallo is now through on his inside as well as Pol Jura. So 2 places lost in the space of 1 corner there for Takuma Sasaki. Not the start of the race he'll have wanted. Gallo, meanwhile, is on the inside of Jura and looks like he's made it stick down into turn 5. Serrano versus Miyazono side by side in the background. Action everywhere you look on the start of this race. Yeah, 3 places now lost for Sasaki. Gallo up 2, Kai de Bruin up 1 now. I'm sure the stewards will be having a little look at that one. It's quite an aggressive move there. Serrano now getting by Sasaki. That's 4 places lost for the Japanese driver, and now he's back with his countryman Takuma Miyazono. A terrible start there for the Japanese driver, but it just goes to show that qualifying doesn't always guarantee you a good start to the race. On board now, Sasaki, and look, he's that far back from where he started. You can see the spray being kicked up on the cars in front. Does hamper visibility a little bit, but not too much. You'll have to still see where you're going. But onto lap 2 now. The driver's using all the curb on the exit there, so confident to do that on this intermediate tyre. We've got to be careful, because they might still find a wet patch yet. Yep, Carrazza's lost a couple of places from where he started. Gallo was the big winner on the opening lap. He made up 2 positions into P4. Into the braking zone of turn 3 we go. The closing speed there always makes me wince a little bit, because they absolutely slam it on the anchors and just about get it stopped before making contact with the other drivers. Now Jura and Serrano, they're in formation here in 5th and 6th position. Can the 2 Spaniards, who of course I remind you were the top 2 finishers in the reverse order of where they are now in the first World Series event back in June. So Serrano and Jura with a lot of work to do in 6th and 5th place there respectively. Kai de Bruin meanwhile up into 3rd, but we know that incident on the first lap at the moment is under investigation. Yeah, we'll see what the stewards say on that one, but meanwhile it's Drumont, Boutellé, de Bruin. Drumont with a 1 second gap as it is. So here's a replay. Didn't see this one. This is Carrazza on board for P9 currently. On the brakes. Oh, yeah, pumps the back of Miyazono there, and Guy Barbara having contact. I mean,
he drove in the back of him. I don't know what you want to say about that one.
Yeah, not ideal at all there for Agile Kraz. So we know he's not afraid of getting his elbows out and often gets into a bit of trouble for it as well. The upshot is he's down in 11th position, so not good at all there for him. Guy Barber was the big sort of profit on that. Here's Kai de Bruyne attacking against Thomas Laboutelet. Disappointed to miss out on that podium in the sprint race was de Bruyne. He makes amends for it with a send to the inside down into turn 3 and up into second position is the Dutchman then. Great start to this race then here for him so far.
Kai de Bruyne looking strong today here at Berlin. I mean, could this finally be the time we see Kai battle for a win here? I don't know. Too early
now
to
you've
say.
done it.
I've probably jinxed it, but yeah, on lap 3 of a photo of that race, is that what you call it?
Well, look, we're on lap 3, Jimmy, but I have to say, look at the circuit. You can see a few dry lines sort of just beginning to start appearing there, and I'm interested to see how much the spray is going to start to dissipate over the course of this one, because if there's no active rain falling, of course, these intermediate tyres, they're working all right here so far, but when's the crossover point going to come where you're going to think about dry tyres? There we are, look at the crossover lap times. Where are we now in terms of them? We're 1:13s, we're not too far away from that dry tyre, really.
Yeah, we're about there, so basically it's just who wants to blink first, because one, the tyre's got to come up, and two, the racetrack becomes a lot narrower when you go onto that soft tyre, because if you even touch a wet patch, you get, I speak from experience, you go flying off into the undergrowth. So no further action there from the start of the race. So Kai de Bruyne second place, and now they're catching Kylian Drumont.
And look at Valerio Gallo, he's bringing himself right into the picture here then as well. Kraz-e and Miyazono are under investigation for that first corner skirmish that we saw a few moments ago. But now you've got 3 drivers lining astern. Oh, was there a bit of contact there between Laboutelet and de Bruyne down into turn 4?
And there might have been, I'm not sure, we didn't get a good angle of it. Kai de Bruyne now defend from Laboutelet, just chops across the nose there of the French driver, saying, no, thank you, sir, I'm taking this for now. But yeah, might have been a smattering of contact, I'm sure. So in the midfield, we're just behind this man, we have the Spanish Euro and Serrano. Gallo there moving offline, maybe to try and break the toe, maybe to try and cool the tyres down, because it looks like you can see now a dry line forming. So we are getting to the point now, I think, where they'll be starting to consider the idea of the soft compounder tyre. I wonder who's going to blink first.
Well, that's all well and good, but look at the clouds overhead. I mean, some of them are looking still pretty dark in the distance there, aren't they? Oh, de Bruyne's wide out of turn 1, isn't he, here? That's going to put Laboutelet right on his rear wing and also allow an opportunity for Valerio Gallo as we come into turn 3. So into the braking zone we go. Laboutelet's got the inside line. Gallo's got the momentum, but no room to use it. Oh, and a biff into the back there as Jura, sort of half-season opportunity, but makes a bit of a meal of his braking and has to back out of it and just allow Gallo an opportunity to hold on to that 4th place.
Yeah, a bit clumsy by Jura there, just sort of running into the back of Gallo. There's no way to go there, run into the back of him. So I don't think there'll be a penalty or anything, but just maybe a little warning from the steward saying, come on, keep it clean. We've got a long race to go yet, boys, so don't be shunting each other on lap 5. Kai de Bruyne falling back a little bit from Drumont after that mistake at G1, but it just goes to show how narrow the margins are. Again, the sideways moment for Kai de Bruyne. He's really struggling now on these inters. Maybe he's burned them up.
I was just about to say,
that way.
Yeah, I was overheating the tyres now then here. I mean, in terms of the tyre wear, they're all about sort of the same. Oh, Laboutelet's the first driver to blink, so P3, Laboutelet's come in. We were asking that at the end of the last lap, and at the end of this one, Laboutelet's come in. He's going to stick a set of, surely, soft tyres on, because if the rain is going to be set to come down later on, if you stuck anything other than softs on, you'd be a bit of a wally, to be honest with you. Onto the soft he goes. Laboutelet out and into the circuit, but where's he going to emerge?
Well, I don't understand, though, surely. If you're like Cardinal and Estroza, Kraz-e, you take a punt too. You go for it, because you're not going to catch him on speed at that point. But I would love to see how Laboutelet handles this as Gallo comes under attack from Jura. Jura up the inside, Serrano's going to follow him through. They come 2 at a time to the Spaniards, and there goes Jura. Can Serrano make it through as well, using the draft of Jura, who pulls across to help his compatriot? That's teamwork there. These guys are working together.
I love that. And Sasaki's there sort of lurking in the background here, isn't he, after the challenging starts that the Japanese driver has had to this race. I really am not sure what's going on with Takuma Miyazono at the moment, by the way. We're used to seeing him up the sharp end pretty consistently throughout this one. And, normally we see him doing a bit of a different strategy, so he'll be a bit all over the place. But, here in these conditions, you have no choice but to be on the tyres that you're on, really. He's not made much of an impression at all here tonight.
No, not really. Just maybe not gelling. He's been very busy. He's driving real life now in the NLS and Nürburgring Langstrecke series. And might I say, by the way, fastest Sector 2 by Thomas Laboutelet.
So soft tyres are the way to go. There we go. Serrano and Barbara ready to take profit of that one. They've listened to the advice. Now, the question is, have they chosen the right time? Because, look, the dry line, very much prominent here. You can see it's pretty slick still, though, offline. You've got to be quite careful because he dived to the inside, even though you've got those slick tyres on in particular and you're sending it through. You're not going to get the car stopped because you're just going to have no grip coming into the braking zone. On the intermediate tyres, you might be all right if you've got enough rubber left underneath you and you've not burned them up. But this is the problem. All the while they're on this drying circuit, they're going to be slower than the soft-shell runners who are just going to be closing that gap down, even though they're at the back of the field.
The lap times are falling, Tom, with 14, 15 second, 1:15 some people there, from the 1:13 from earlier on. These intermediate tyres are just falling apart. They've got to get onto a soft tyre. Laboutelet, I think, has called it well, because we'll see how he is through that middle sector and what his lap time is. He's not set a full lap time yet without a outlap. So we've got 1:13.0 to beat. I won't be surprised to see him dip into the 12s here, and he'll be the overall leader when they all pit.
No doubt about it. Now, to the top two, come into the pit lane and blink the other. They have to. Yeah, no worries. So, Ura in there as well. Gallo surely is going to follow them. I just reckon we're going to see a flying formation with everybody else coming into the box, because any longer on that one, and you just be a bit of a fool, really. You have to sit for the current conditions. But the question is, Laboutelet, Serrano and Barbara, what sort of inroads have they been able to make relative to the other drivers around them? The question will be here for Laboutelet in particular, because he was the first driver to blink, and has he got the lead of the race back here from Kilian Drumont as a result of that early pit stop? Comes out of the first corner, and he is now back into the lead of the race, and he's got a bit of a cushion here, and Serrano's picked his pocket there as well, so that's worked out quite nicely there for Jose Serrano, who now splits the two Frenchmen in second.
Laboutelet went 6 tenths faster than anyone on his first full lap there on the slick tyre, so that was the right choice. I'd say maybe they all boxed a little bit too late. It was a bit of a gamble by Laboutelet, but it did pay off. It's put him in the front and the back now, and everybody else who sort of followed suit, Serrano boxed early as well, has moved some other few places, so that was the right choice to do that. But yeah, I mean, we'll see if it continues this way, if it continues to dry, or whether we're due more rain or not.
Yeah, the clouds you can see looking still pretty menacing overhead. There's a big dark one right up in the middle of the middle sector there, and I mean, look, I'm no weather expert, but I have lived in Great Britain for pretty much all of my life. I have to say, that is looking pretty menacing, pretty ominous indeed. You had no choice but to change over to the dry tyres. If you try and eke it out on the intermediate tyres, you're going to hemorrhage so much time that anything you'd have gained from not making that extra pit stop, you'd have ended up losing from the fact that everybody else around you would have been so much faster. So they had no other choice but to blink at that point, and it's been a great profit there for Thomas Laboutelet and for Jose Serrano. And let's see now what happens with the weather. If it starts to fall in a light intensity, they might be all right if they can keep heat into the tyres. But if it's an absolute deluge, intermediates or wet, have got to be the only way to go. And do you blink early? Do you chance it and hope that it'll dry up and then wait till later? It's a proper gamble, a proper guessing game that no one really knows how to work out.
You've got to just drive to the conditions at this point. It is dry. The dry tyre is fast. Just stay on that tyre. I mean, you can't just go, oh, it looks a bit cloudy out, I'm going to switch to the wet. You'll just lose all your time you've gained. But you can see out there, it is slippery. It's not full slick conditions yet. There is a dry line, yes. There's also a lot of wet on the circuit still. If you catch that in this car, the crash happens so quickly you don't even realise what's happened. You're already in the wall. So right now, Laboutelet, Serrano handling at the best. That 1-2 Serrano, again, from someone who seemed a bit anonymous in the sprint race, is just doing what he does, climbing up the field, and is now looking at the back of the leader and gaining. Well, can we see another win maybe for Jose Serrano today? It's anybody's game at this point.
Yeah, Jose Serrano has absolutely come alive here in this grand final. He's got the overspeed. First corner, not really the place you're going to be making a pass. Needs to hope that he gets a strong exit out of there, but has a bit of a slide actually on the curb there. Laboutelet gets great attraction, and that just denies an opportunity for Serrano to try and launch an attack into turn 3. No dive bombs into there, not at this stage of the race. We're only 1/3 through out of the race distance, but look at how dark that cloud is looking overhead. Look at how ominous it is here at the Red Bull Ring. And now Serrano closer than ever before on Thomas Laboutelet, who goes for a sort of half defensive line down that back straight, but holds on to the race lead coming into 4.
No, he's at the back of this little train. It's Guy Barbara. He's managed to bring himself back up from pretty much the back of the grid up to P7 now, only a couple of seconds off the lead. I mean, it is the back of his train, but he's there. If there's a mistake, he will be there to capitalise. So, good performance so far from the Australian driver. Again, we see this every time. He makes a mistake, comes back through, and then finishes pretty high, but could have done better if he qualified well. It's just He needs to get that qualifying sorted, I think.
Yeah, was his Achilles heel, you know. He sort of put him on the back foot courtesy of the fact that he started right down the field in the sprint race. Look at the live points rankings. If it landed as it was now, it would be great for Jose Serrano because he would have a bit of a comfortable cushion going into the penultimate round of the Gran Turismo World Series in Los Angeles in November. But there's plenty of time between now and when the checkered flag will fly here in this race. On board we are here with Kai de Bruyne, ever the opportunist, ever chasing his first podium in the GT World Series. Into turn 3 we go. And such is the legacy of the race that we've had here for this one. We haven't really had any breakaway battles, no divergence on soft, medium or hard compounds or strategies. That's why we're on lap 11 and you've got, what, 6 or 7 drivers all separated by a second or so effectively out on track.
Yeah, I mean, it is that close right now, and it will continue to be that close until the checkered flag falls, I imagine, as we keep watching Jose Serrano. The thing is, if you make a move, you just open yourself up to attack from somewhere else, so you really have to make sure you are 100% sure you want to do that. You've got to be decisive. Gallo right now, they're looking onto the wet line. I always get a bit scared when they do that, but yeah, they managed to seem to make the tyre work even whilst dousing it in water. So here we are then. Look, the top 6, that's 6 drivers there in that frame. They're there. So close right now.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, they're all sort of keeping their powder dry. I mean, they're looking a bit scrappy going down this start-finish race, thinking about a bit of a move, but no one's really doing a big send to the inside at the moment. They know it's a long race. They know that the likelihood is, I mean, look, in the background there, it all looks nice and calm and cool in terms of the weather, but Inestrosa has just come into the pit lane at the end of lap 12. Is he going to do a bit of an alternate strategy? He's gone to the intermediate tyre. I mean, I haven't seen these spots of rain, unless there's a couple of spots coming on the sort of front canopy of that Red Bull X 2019. But, I mean, look, Inestrosa, he's so far down the order, trying something different is, you know, it's something, isn't it? But
why?
If the track's bone dry, well, that's why. The weather radar, I suppose, he's probably looking at.
Yeah, but, like, right now, it is still slick tyres. That's what I mean. Like, you can't... For this, you can't go, right, I'm thinking 7D, but right, it will rain. I say that kind of Bruyne runs into the back. What happened there? Serrano slow. Still slow. I think Kai's looking a bit puzzled too.
Yeah, I think basically what happened, Serrano must have had a moment there and he's just backed the rest of them up then, didn't it, here? Drumont's got a warning there.
Maybe that was it. He just
through a collision.
Just nipped him maybe and slowed him down. Kind of Bruyne now right in the back of the Frenchman's X 2019. Nothing really to do here. I don't see any rain, Tom. I mean, on the radar there's something. There's nothing on the canopy. And again, in real life, you don't box until, like, the 6 can't take it anymore.
Yeah, you're not at the crossover point, no doubt about it. You know, the thing is, you know, the rain coming down on the canopy, fine, looks particularly spectacular as we see Drumont versus Serrano side by side into turn 3. Serrano holds firm, but runs a bit deep actually on the apex, and that might allow Drumont to close up onto the exit of the corner. Goes off onto the sort of wetter part of the circuit here and down in towards turn 4. He's got the inside line, but has he got the grip under braking? He has. Drumont is through, and on the inside of Jose Serrano. Oh, look at that for Kai de Bruyne. Beautiful. On the inside, the door was open, and Kai de Bruyne gladly walked through it.
You don't have to ask him, do you? He always say, all right, okay, I'll take that. Thank you very much. Any opportunity. And Kai, as well, I've got to admire that driving style. Super aggressive, super opportunistic, and up to P3 now.
He's like a Jack Russell, isn't he, Kai de Bruyne? He's sort of, you know, yapping away at your heels and then out over your shoulder. It's just sort of
a very tall Jack Russell.
Very tall Jack Russell indeed. Well, he is Dutch.
Yeah, I mean, that's unfair.
So, look, Inestrosa, just to finish that thought, by the way, you know, he's, 22 seconds off the back, but exactly as you say, all the while you're keeping heat in those slick tyres, there's no need to change over to the intermediates because you're just not putting, you know, you're not running out of grip or anything like that. And I started to get his point, but now look at the weather radar. It's changed back to slick, so unless he's just going to tippy-toe round, but, you know, you've got to keep a level of pace up.
You've got to ignore that radar. Like, I mean, obviously it gives you an idea of what's coming, but you are there. You are the best place, the best person to determine what tyres you've got to be on. That's what they always say to me on the radio when we're racing around the North Cypher. They say, you tell us. You know, and just saying, oh, but the radar says, yeah, but it's bone dry. Don't go onto a wet tyre. You will, I mean, look, he was 3 seconds slower than that, Inestrosa. Any advantage he might have gained is already gone. He's losing time every lap now.
I always remember, do you remember the 2009 Malaysian Grand Prix? Particularly weird sort of thing to get into, I know. But it was a race that was affected by rain. It ended up not going the full race distance, but there was a strategy there where Ferrari went onto the wet tyres on a bone-dry circuit. Anyway, get away from that diversion, because look, everybody else is now coming in. They've got to be coming in for intermediate tyres, surely. So the top three, Le Bousselet, Drumont and De Bruyne, have all come into the pit lane. They've gone for intermediate tyres. Serrano, Jura, etc. have all stayed out here. Now, are they going to take advantage? Lap times, what? They're in the 1:11. They're easily slick times last time around. Unless they're expecting an absolute deluge on this lap, I don't know. Is that the right call?
It's not raining, boys. What's going on? I'm sitting here like wondering, I mean, maybe they can see something we can't. I mean, but again, I can see there is the weather radar here. I mean, hopefully we can show you guys on screen as well. So we can see that here is the weather radar. We can see that there is some rain coming, but can you see rain now? No! What's going on?
Oh, Le Bousselet and De Bruyne there. So De Bruyne's managed to take profit of that one. So he's now ahead of the two Frenchmen. Of course, Le Bousselet, just to remind you, was in the race lead prior to this one. So, you know, is this the effective race lead, or is now this the time for Jose Serrano and Paul Jura to start coming to the fore? Now, there is the rain on the canopy for the first time. But of course, they've waited a lap later. They'll have been pumping in 6 times. They're going around another time. So they're thinking, we're nowhere near the crossover point, but are they going to be waiting that little bit too long? Because now the rain's coming down at a heavier intensity here. Miyazono and Kraz-e subsequently have blinked at the end of lap 16. They've decided they're going for intermediates.
They're just going to risk it, I think, and try and save the pit stop. If you can do that and hang it out, you save a pit stop. I was speaking to our co-commentator Florian Strauss. No, it's the wrong choice. Look at this. It is definitely the wrong choice. The slick tyres have nothing. But then again, that the rain has almost stopped again. Maybe it's drier at this point of the circuit. Of course, the rain moves over the track, so not all of it is wet at once.
Just to give some clarification for the audience, by the way, with the weather radar, when it's a light blue, that's sort of a light rain. When it gets to dark blue, that's a heavy rain. When it's green, duck and find cover and get a boat with 2 oars rather than a Red Bull X 2019 with wet tyres, to be honest with you, is probably the best solution. Right, so it's pretty wet in the first part of the first sector that we can see. The middle sector looks all right, though, to be honest with you. Can't see too much rain that's affecting this part of the circuit. Now the question is, how much time for the likes of Le Bousselet, De Bruyne and Drumont, who all boxed at the end of the last lap, how much time are they going to be gaining or losing relative to the top 4 who are still on the slick tyres? The opportunity is there for these slick runners, but, you know, are the track conditions meeting what they're expecting?
Well, here's where it's wettest. It's down here at T1 going up towards T2 and T3, and that's where we saw Gallo really struggle. But let's have a look now as they come through. It looks like it's dry. So I think by staying out, making that right call, the water's been cleared up pretty much instantly. I mean, these things are pretty much vacuum cleaners of water. The water gets just thrown up and off into oblivion. So staying on this soft tyre was the right choice, because now they don't have to box off it again. They're on the right tyre at this time. If it does continue to rain, then you come in a box. But I think braving that out was the right choice, and only 4 cars have done that. Serrano, Jura, Gallo and Guy Barbara.
But Drumont has just lost a place to Takuma Sasaki, who's braved it out on the soft compounded tyre and is now taking profit of those runners who went for the intermediate tyres in this middle stint of the race, and now they're hemorrhaging time relative to those around. I mean, like lap times wise, last time around, Jose Serrano on the soft tyres, 1:16.6. Le Bousselet was a 1:13, but this time it's going to be surely the converse of that, because the rain has stopped and the track conditions are falling back. Or is it, though? I say that, now the top 3 are coming into the pits. Is Guy Barber going to follow them in, or is he going to go bold with the strategy? No, he comes in as well. He's following the leaders because he's now gained track position pretty much from right at the back of the field. So they're going on to the intermediate tyres about 2 laps later than the top 3. So now let's see how this is ebb and flowed. Don't forget, Le Bousselet and Drumont were at the front of this race along with Serrano prior to the pit stops. Now, with the reverse of that, it's Le Bousselet, De Bruyne and Drumont who lead this race, with Serrano in 4th. Kraz-e's up to 5th position here, and Jura is down to 6th place. So those who did pit earlier for those intermediate tyres ultimately have managed to take profit of that.
See a lot of confused faces in the audience. Don't worry, us too. We're trying to work it out as we go at the moment. But what I would love to see now is that weather radar, because guess what? Rain's here once again, but there are people out there on significantly newer intermediate tyres than the rest. So have to wonder if they just saw this coming, because you can only go so far out of the weather radar. You can't go too far, but that cloud looks ominous. The Bousselet, De Bruyne and Drumont 1, 2, 3. Serrano 4th as well. Really, and that pack who stayed out, who braved it, actually lost out, which I don't see how that makes sense. My brain can't get around that.
So I kind of get what you're saying, but yeah, look, it's difficult. I mean, look at the sky. It's like a British summer's day, this. It's dark on one part of it, and look at the rain now. It's coming down in a very heavy intensity, heavier than we've seen it over the course of this one. Now, the question is, how long are these intermediate tyres going to hold up? And those who pitted earlier on, of course, their intermediate tyres are going to be a lot more worn than those who pitted 2 laps later, because the track wasn't wet enough at the time. They were burning up, they were overheating those intermediate tyres. So if you're on the inters now, fine, have you got the grip underneath you because you might have burnt those tyres out a bit sooner, or are you going to still have the grip underneath you because the rain might be falling heavier?
And of course, bear in mind, the way intermediate tyres wear is you basically burn the tread away. So if it gets wetter, you lose the ability to move the water in the same way you would with a fresh intermediate tyre. So you start getting into a lot of levels of thinking here, trying to work out what is the best way to do it. And the thing is, in real life racing, you will have a team on the end of your radio telling you what the best opportunity is.
Look at the tyres.
They've got to do it all themselves.
Look at the tyres there. So you can see the top 3 who pitted earlier for the intermediate tyres. Their tyres are significantly more worn relative to the likes of Serrano and Gallo and Ura. Ura, meanwhile, has just lost the place to Valerio Gallo, who's made a overtake on Ura for 6th position. But, yeah, so you can see that those who pitted later on, of course, have got more tyre left, as you would begin to expect. Now Le Boutelet is challenging with De Bruyne. Side by side we go. Le Boutelet still holds firm in the race lead as De Bruyne sort of had a half look to the inside going down the start-finish straight, but couldn't quite make it stick. So we're 2/3 done here in this race. We're on board here with Drumont, spray being thrown in front of him effectively from the cars, and we head into the braking zone of turn 3. So this is your battle for the race lead, but how is this one going to ebb and flow in terms of the weather? I mean, look at the sky. It looks pretty clear, pretty okay.
Kraz-e got the run on the Boutelet there on the outside, better off the exit, just came off the racing line. Good launch there, looking around the outside. Can he make it stick on the Frenchman? He can. Right around the outside goes Kraz-e, back up into the lead of the race. Really nice move there by the Dutch driver. But as you say, Tom, I mean, like we haven't got a weather radar here on screen right now, so I can't tell you what's coming and what isn't, but the skies look good. I think we're going to go back towards maybe a drier circuit. So, I mean, the question remains, do you reckon you could have kept out of the soft tyres? I don't think so. I think that would be too much.
Well, look, let's park that thought for now. The question now is, look, it looks dry. It looks perfect overhead. As you see the 2 Frenchmen squabbling for 2nd place here with Le Boutelet and Drumont. But can you now go to the end of the race on the intermediate tyres, or are you going to have to make another pit stop and go to dry tyres if it dries out towards the end of this one? There's so much going on in this one, and the upshot is now, for the first time, Kai de Bruyne it is that leads from Kilian Drumont, Le Boutelet in 2nd, Serrano in 3rd. You've got 4 drivers there separated by about 1.5, 2 seconds or so as they come on the run into turn 3. And now Kai de Bruyne, the Dutchman, leads a race for the first time in the grand finals in the Nations Cup.
What an introduction there to Dunlops, to this series. Pretty much all that tyres being used at once in this race. Cool to see. But now, yeah, as you say, it's a matter of how long until the track dries out again. We said crossover time. It's about 1 minute 13 or so from the intermediate to the soft compounder tyre. Last lap time for context for our leader, Kai de Bruyne, 1:16.5. So we're not quite there yet, but Miyazono managed a 15.1. So the time is there. And that 15.1, by the way, that was on a older set of tyres. Not the oldest set on the grid, but an older set of tyres. So, well, there you are, last lap on your screen there. So, we're approaching it, but we're not quite there yet. But it's one of those big calls. If you're Guy Barber or something, make the call early, have a go. Why the hell not?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Guy Barber was, as you saw earlier on, he was right up the sharp end of this one. The upshot is, because he pitted when he did, he lost a bit of track position and is now down into 8th position. You can see further behind there as well, you've got the likes of Gallo with Kraz-e and Ura all squabbling for places. Guy Barber celebrated his birthday yesterday. Would love to give himself a birthday present of a podium finish as we ride on board here with Jose Serrano, who's now all over the rear wing of Le Boutelet into the braking zone of turn 3. Has he got the grip on the outside? They run side by side, but he'll have a face on the curb. He's got the traction, though. He's got the overspeed. That's absolutely beautiful from Jose Serrano, who's now through it into 3rd place and fancies a nibble at Kilian Drumont 2nd before too long. Not quite down into turn 4, but he's certainly getting the hurry up.
So Serrano's Dunlop intermediates are significantly newer than Drumont's and De Bruyne's in front. That might play into this race. I've just seen our radar we have on our screen here. There is still a little bit of rain left, but after that, it seems to be, that's it, dry. So I feel as if we're going to be going back to soft tyres at some point in this race. When, though, that's up to the drivers. As Serrano now is right on the back of Dumont. Is he going to go for a move? He's got so much more speed right now than the drivers in front of him. Has Serrano played a blinder here? I mean, I wouldn't put it past him. This guy is a past winner, won last time out of London, is a Nations Cup champion from 2023 in the team format. Never came out.
Do you know what this race reminds me of? Do you remember World Series 2 in Prague last year? Hengse versus Bedima. Oh, De Bruyne, by the way, was just a little bit wide over the curb there. Dumont, I beg your pardon. That might have cost him a bit of drive coming in towards turn 3 and allowed Serrano to attack. But Hengse versus Bedima last year, we saw a great battle in exactly the same conditions as this. And now look at the drive that Serrano gets on the exit of turn 3. He's in the slipstream here of Kylian Dumont. Dumont's going to defend this line, surely, to the inside and force Serrano to the outside. You can make a move stick through there. He needs a good grip under braking and a willing dance partner. Dumont tries to squeeze him. Serrano's there, but he gets a face full of curb as Dumont holds the line for second and holds on for now the charge of Gint and holds on for now the charge of the flying Spaniards.
Dumont there just walking out to the outside of the second, saying no thank you son. Here's on board the Paul Euro replay. Oh, right into the back of Gallo. Hits Gallo again. Second time this race he's done that.
Yeah, no grip undertaking there for Euro, just plants it into the back of Gallo. He in turn then goes into the side of Adriano Corazza, who's on the receiving end of that one. Serrano having a look, he's got more grip, he's trying to use it to his advantage to the inside of the final corner. What a lunge from Jose Serrano. He's now through and into second. He wants to get 2 wins from 2 World Series events. It compromised his run though out of the final corner. Could leave him vulnerable, but I think he just about gathers it up okay.
Starting to see a little bit of a dry line emerge there, Tom, and I think if you're Kai de Bruyne, those rear tyres are going off pretty, you can see here, they're going off pretty bad like. Same with Venestro's. I mean, his race isn't really going to affect the rest of this race here, but Kai de Bruyne, Dumont and Labouche have something to think about very soon. Serrano, though, he can probably drag those in. Look at how much faster he is. He's already on the back of Kai de Bruyne, going down into T4 here. Will he make a go of it? He gets very close to the Dutchman, but look at the amount of speed he has over the car in front. It's only a matter of time. It has to be. Serrano will be leading this race if he can get by Kai de Bruyne.
De Bruyne's going to defend this one here in the middle sector. No surprise there at all. Innes Rose is going to surely go to the soft tyres. Nothing to lose there for him right at the back. But at the sharp end of this one, De Bruyne, oh, he's all over the road. He's just got no grip underneath him. Serrano's going to drive by like he's left the handbrake on. There's contact as they come through the exit of the right-hander. Serrano though with the inside line, and now the lead of the race for the first time. Jose Serrano for Spain is in front here in the grand final, and he's got 6 laps separating him from his second victory in succession.
I don't think there's enough time to come in and put the softs on for it to make a difference.
I think you're right. I was just about to say, you know, the crossover, what, we won 13? We're about at that window now, but the time you're going to lose, what, 25 seconds, something like that? You're not going to gain that unless everybody else does it, and it's such a gamble at the sharp end. Serrano, I don't think you can afford to take that risk now.
But some of these guys might have to. I mean, look who's having a stab at it. Mirzono's going to have to go, whatever. Nothing to lose to Mirzono. It's a long way back on this pack, but it might be worth doing something. There's 5 and a bit laps left. I don't know. Serrano might have played this one just fantastic. A bit wide down the bottom there. It doesn't matter. He's already gained a second on De Bruyne and Dumont. So now Paul Euro also coming through the field on a much healthier intermediate tyre.
Well, they pitted at the same time, didn't they?
Yeah, are we going to see another Spanish 1-2?
It's not out of the realms of possibility, is it? I mean, look, you know, Euro lost track position courtesy of the fact that he was a couple more car lengths behind Serrano, and ultimately, because of the field, they were so close to one another, it means that he's now got more hard work to do here, Paul Euro. But look at him, he's all over the back of Kylian Dumont like a bad rash, and Dumont's race and De Bruyne's race are falling apart like a cheap watch. Through the final corner we go, across the timing line, and you get the sense that Euro is going to send one through on the inside because it'll just have that much more grip under braking, and indeed he does. Look at that. Paul Euro into 3rd place. He'll have great attraction on the exit. Next target, Kai de Bruyne, and it's only a matter of time here.
Yeah, and Kai de Bruyne's stuck. He can't do anything here apart from box. Here comes Valerio Gallo also on a newer tyre as well. So all those who pitted for the intermediates a bit later are all seeing, oh, Dumont and Labouche made contact. The French drivers who were leading this 1-2 at the start down to 5th and 6th and still falling, and suddenly Gallo is in with a chance of a podium too.
There's no adage for experience in the Gran Turismo World Series. The podium, just to remind you, for World Series 1, Serrano, Euro and Gallo was your top 3 finishers. At the moment it looks set that could be on for a repeat. Serrano leads, but Euro's got the inside line here on Kai de Bruyne in the middle sector. Can he make it stick through into the left-hander? He can, and Gallo's there as well. De Bruyne loses 2 places. Trimontria tyres are absolutely toast, by the way. That's why he's sliding around like a dog on a polished floor. So he's going to surely have to come in and make a box before the end of this race. De Bruyne's going to be going backwards there as well. They're intermediate tyres. There's no water left to clear them. They're just overheating. They're all over the shop. And now we've got 2 laps left remaining, and it's Serrano, Ura and Gallo, a repeat, possibly, of the World Series 1 podium on the cards here in Berlin.
That is huge. And you know who gains 2 seconds there in Sector 2 alone? Takuma Miyazono in P9. So he's flying right now on that soft compounder tyre. I think maybe a bit too far back to do anything, but still the speed is there. Who knows?
Well, look who the big winners are in that one. Guy Barber, I know he's just picked up a 2-second penalty. Sasaki as well also made ground because they pitted at the same time as the 3 who are now in the top 3 positions here of this race. And I tell you what, Jimmy, it's not over in the battle for these podium places because Gallo, he needs as many points as he can. He's 3rd in the championship at the moment. If he can get one over of Ura, that will be enough to promote him up into 2nd in the championship, I reckon.
You know, we'll have a go. Last lap there. Look who's the fastest on circuit right now. It's Takuma Miyazono, 1:12.1, but only 1.1 seconds faster than Serrano. Not quick enough, I think, to make that gap to the front, but quick enough to maybe challenge for a couple more positions. Meanwhile, Ura and Gallo going at it on his intermediate tyres, wearing more and more. Ura boxes.
He's boxed.
Why?
His intermediate tyres. Is he just taking a gamble? Is he deciding that his tyres are going to be slow to the end of the race and he's taking a risk? I mean, look, for our money, the safe bet, surely, 2 laps to go, you just nurse those intermediate tyres to the end of this race, but he's throwing caution to the wind. I mean, was there a gap, 5 seconds or so back to Sasaki, but surely he's going to be dropping track position. Let's see where he comes out of the pit lane here, Pol Ura. He's going to have the mother and father of all jobs now to do this in the last 2 laps of this race. The upshot is, though, Serrano has to play this one safe. He's got no choice. He's backed into a corner, and he's now just got to drive this one as best he can. Barbara versus De Bruyne, meanwhile. De Bruyne's still stuffing it out on the intermediate tyres, but he's going to fall down like a stone. But we're still holding our head in our hands, wondering the strategy there of Pol Ura, who's, by the looks of things, thrown away what could have been a certain podium.
I don't understand. I don't know. We'll ask him afterwards, but only he knows what's going through his own mind. But meanwhile, Kai De Bruyne fighting off Guy Barbara. I bet he didn't think he'd be battling for 4th place at the end of this. Sasaki ahead of them on the podium now. Again, someone else who probably had no idea, but Serrano is coming on to start his penultimate lap, and the pace is still there. His last lap, 14.3, starting to fall off now. But look at the gap. He can afford a couple of seconds a lap.
The drop-off is quite dramatic, I will say, on these intermediate tyres. So unless they're sort of thinking, look, if I run 2 more laps on these tyres, the rears are going to be toast, and I'm just going to be crawling around on that final lap, and that's what they're sort of gambling on. But look, let's wait and see how it all works out. I tell you, someone who'll be ruining how this race has panned out is Guy Barbara. I know he's in P5 and he's on for a strong result, but he was on the podium effectively now. He was in where Sasaki was prior to that 2-second penalty that he had a few moments ago. Meanwhile, Takuma Miyazono, we've hardly mentioned him at all here tonight. We talked about unusual strategies. He's just quietly ghosted his way up into 6th position and is now all over the back of Guy Barbara as De Bruyne versus Sasaki for the final podium place. Side by side they go. Sasaki holds it, but De Bruyne's got the inside line. Has he got the traction through on the inside? He has. Kai De Bruyne is now back up and into the podium places.
Yeah, De Bruyne wants this. He's basically on the podium the entire race. Miyazono, though, look at him. He's stuck. He can't get by Guy Barbara because he can't go off the race and lie on those soft tyres, but the traction's there. And now, there's only 1 more lap left. Is Sasaki going to be far enough ahead to keep his position from Takuma Miyazono? This has been a ridiculous race. Jose Serrano starts his last lap, so he's now leading in the T1, 6 seconds between him and Valerio Gallo. Kai De Bruyne 3rd, Sasaki 4th just from Takuma Miyazono, and Guy Barbara 6th. Pol Ura 7th after boxing for a reason we can't comprehend. This race has been ridiculous.
Well, look, the points rankings here for Jose Serrano. It would be a clean sweep in the Nations Cup for him so far. But Pol Ura, he'd have been on for a level 2nd place with Valerio Gallo had he finished where he was. The upshot is he's now looking set to not finish on the podium unless other drivers fall into severe misfortunes in the final half a lap here at this Red Bull Ring circuit. But Jose Serrano, his rear tyres are absolutely knackered at the moment. They're right down to the canvas, the cord, and anything that's underneath that. And he's just going to be cruising his way away, but he's got, what, 7 seconds in his pocket, and unless he makes a slip up of his lines in the final sector, I think this race is going to go the way of Jose Serrano, and what a drive it has proven to be. 2 more corners from home, and this is going to feel like the longest 2 of the young Spaniard's life. He now makes his way around the final corner. Jose Serrano makes it 2 wins from 2 races in the Nations Cup here in Berlin. What a performance from the Spaniard. Second place for Valerio Gallo, and P3 for Kai de Bruyne. His first ever podium in the Gran Turismo World Series. Sasaki versus Miyazono, and Miyazono mugs Sasaki at the checkered flag there as well. And Paul Ura, well, from what we saw, it looks like he threw away what could have been an almost certain podium here tonight.
I'm not allowed to describe this race in the way I want to, because we're
down by Ofcom.
Yeah, we're a friendly stream that way. But what happened there? That was a ridiculous race, and how well played by Jose Serrano. You know what, going into this final, I was like, nah, he's not in it. It's going to be between the French guys, who ended 7th and 8th, by the way, Leboutelet and Drummond. But Serrano just showing what experience means in these GT live events. Valerio Gallo, an amazing second place, who finished with pretty much no rear left tyre, and Kai de Bruyne finally getting back on the podium where he belongs. A couple of steps maybe lower than he wanted, but still an impressive performance there from the Dutchman.
Yeah, I have to say, if you are...
Yeah, big up, guys. Kraz-e-ekraz YouTube. Hope you enjoyed that. That was race 1 in round 2. Serrano took the win there. Yeah, come get some. This is GT World Series. That's right. The race will start soon, the next one. I think we've got 3 today. Thank you. Yeah, if you're new to the channel, like, subscribe, and do the thing. That's right, and have a great day. Thank you. Big ups to the subscribers. You are the subscriber. That's right.
And ready to go for the Nations Cup then, for the sprint race here at Monza. Let's see how this one is going to work out. Porsche 962 Group C machines at a no chicane layout. It is going to be absolutely frantic down towards that first braking zone. Sasaki begins this one on pole position with Thomas Leboutelet alongside on the front row of the grid. Row 2 is headed by Kylian Drumont, and he will be joined by Adriano Carrazza, who we know is not afraid of getting his elbows out. Paul Ura heads the third row for Spain with his compatriot Jose Serrano. Those two, you can't seem to separate them pretty much everywhere they go. Kai de Bruyne is next up on the grid in P7 with Takuma Miyazono, the 4-time champion for company alongside. Then Angel Enestrosa, tricky qualifying for the Chilean driver. He will have Samuel Cardinal alongside him. The final row of the grid is comprised of Valerio Gallo. His lap time was disallowed in qualifying. Guy Barbara, the only driver who was worse off, courtesy of that spin on his one and only flying lap. So 12 laps, and they're going to tick off pretty quickly here, I reckon.
Yeah, very fast laps around here. Lots of slipstreaming action to come. So it isn't just about pure performance, it's about strategy and positioning your car in the right place at the right time. Almost, you kind of don't want to be Sasaki because you're right at the front of the field, you're giving the toe to everyone else. And I pretty much guarantee that he will not be leading the race going down into the first chicane. But Guy Barbara there getting ready. He's got a lot of work to do, Guy Barbara, after that spin in qualifying. But we know he's quick, we know he's punchy. He's going to need to unleash all of that here to move forward in today's sprint race.
Yeah, and it's all about being smart, isn't it, as well? You've got to... It's all well having the pace, but you've got to make sure you use it at the right time. And, you know, making sure that you use brains over brawn really is the important factor here. So let's see what will happen then. We're ready to go for the sprint race of the Gran Turismo Nations Cup for the World Series here in Berlin. Takuma Sasaki is going to lead the field towards the timing line. And who will be claiming the checkered flag of the all-important pole position when we go racing then? So Sasaki leads them into the green flag as we go with Leboutelet and Drumont for company behind. So through in towards what would have been the first chicane, the first braking zone, but now we head into an acceleration zone and we blast in towards the Curva Grande for the first time. And look at the slipstream already coming into effect here for the drivers behind. Sasaki, of course, is punching that hole in the air in front for the drivers, and Leboutelet is trying to take profit of it. He's having a look on the inside into the Della Roggia. No way through for there. It closes up quite a lot in the sort of first half of that, but nobody making a dive bomb to the inside.
Yeah, a couple of position changes, but not many. Gallo up to P10, Kai de Bruyne up to P6. Drumont now, as you watch him go through the Lesmos. Exit out of here is super important now, up towards the Ascari complex. And is that someone sideways in the background? Probably. These things have over 700 horsepower delivered to those rear wheels. No TC, of course, back in the 80s, just how it should be as we come through Ascari. Now, Abutale has fallen off the back of Sasaki a little bit, really strong through the middle was Sasaki, but of course, he's only 6 tenths ahead, which means he's going to be drawn back in using the slipstream. On board now with Adriano Kraz-e, a veteran to these events. Just having a look over his shoulder there. Will he go for a move here? Will he stay where he is? Stays there for now. I mean, long race this, so a lot of time to make his moves.
Sort of ends up being a bit of a slipstreaming train, this, doesn't it, here, really? And it's a case of who's going to be able to take advantage of it. There's a bit sausage curve there on the outside. You can see Adriano Kraz-e, most experienced driver, also the oldest driver in the Gran Turismo World Series. And we mean that to no discredit to him at all. 36 years of age, and hopefully we'll be able to use that wise head of his to good use. Let's see what happens as we come down towards the first corner for the first time at Racing Speed. Well, Pol Jura is taking advantage. We're 3 abreast in the background there as well. Jura and Kraz-e side by side through the Curva Grande. Kraz-e's going to have the inside line here, and it might open the door here for Kai de Bruyne, who sends it to the inside into the Della Roggia. Can he get 2 for the price of 1? He can. Kai de Bruyne, you buy 1 there and you get 1 free, but he's on the outside. He's onto the curb, onto the rough stuff. Jura's there still, ready to pick his pocket, but nothing doing there for him. Kai de Bruyne muscles his way up and into 4th place.
What a bit of opportunistic driving there from Kai de Bruyne, 2nd to 4th in 1 move. Fantastic. We're used to seeing stuff like this from him. He's not afraid to make the big move, is Kai de Bruyne. But now, of course, having had that little squabble, that's let that top 3 move away slightly. So now maybe they need to think about working together a little bit to reel them back in again. Jose Serrano, your winner last time out in London in P7 right now, dropping a place from his starting position and maybe just not quite looking as aggressive as he needs to be so far. Maybe just thinking about things. Now he's looking for a move on Kraz-e. They're going to be side by side down to the Parabolica. Serrano later with the brakes. Up into P6 he goes. Kraz-e there tries the cutback, runs into the back of Serrano. Luckily, no spin there.
It might also allow an opportunity for Gallo to attack as well. So this is Kraz-e versus Jura side by side, but look at Kai de Bruyne using the double slipstream to great effect to the inside of Kraz-e, to the inside of Jura, over the curb, bit of contact in the mid-part, but somehow just about keeps it on the straight and narrow on the curb there, as well as Abutale has now switched places with Sasaki for the race lead. We come through the Curva Grande, and is Sasaki going to repay the favour on the Frenchman as we head in towards the Della Roggia? Nothing doing there for him, but if they start squabbling, that's going to bring the likes of De Bruyne, Jura, Serrano, all who are close behind, right back into play, and it might present a door opening here for Kylian Drumont, who's just keeping his powder dry for now.
Thing is, it is super tempting to make that move back again. You think, yeah, you know what, I've just been overtaken. How dare they? I'm going to take that place back and get my position back. But you do that, you end up having this little fight, unnecessary fight, and you're not on the racing line. You're not taking the best line around the circuit. It means people behind you gain and people in front of you pull away. So it's just to think about your moves sometimes. Go there, clocking the fastest lap. Here is the overtake. Not too dramatic, just using the slipstream. Through goes Abutale.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because Abutale didn't manage to make that move before he put timing line there as well. So that's something to note, especially as we come on to the final stages of this race. So if you're in the slipstream, depending on how close you are coming out that final corner, getting past before you take the checkered flag may not be a possibility. Now, what can Kylian Drumont do? Sits there in 3rd place. Look at it behind as well. Jura versus De Bruyne. They're now side by side down the start-finish straight. Jura's got the outside line, which, of course, we'll switch to the inside line when we come through into the braking zone. But I don't think he's going to need to really wait until we go into the Della Roggia because he's got so much momentum through the Curva Grande and chops the nose off of Kai de Bruyne, who has no opportunity but to get out of the throttle. Serrano's there ready to try and pounce here as well. Can the 2 Spaniards work together? What about Gallo and Kraz-e there in the background as well? So Jura's now through into 4th, De Bruyne down into 5th, Serrano into 6th, Gallo in 7th and Kraz-e in 8th, but Jura's picked up a small penalty there, presumably for track limits, and that is going to drop him back and compromise him quite hugely because look at how many cars are line astern behind him.
Yes, it's a 1 second penalty, and the way that's applied is when you get to the penalty line, the car basically goes full on the brakes. The car goes, so people behind you don't go flying into the back of you, because that would be a bit problematic. But it's more than a second, especially around here when it's such a high-speed course. I mean, here we go. The bar will fill up, and when we get to the line, the brakes will be applied, and you'll see for yourself just how devastating even a 1 second penalty is in these races. Here we go.
Yep, so moves off the racing line there, does Pol Jura, and the rest of the field is just going to come streaming through, and his heart is going to drop to his boots, unfortunately, and his position will as well. Down to 9th place there for Pol Jura. Sasaki back in front of Abutale, meanwhile, at the sharp end of this one. and making a break in this race is going to be particularly difficult. As we said, no points on offer, just to remind you. This is all to decide the grid for the grand final. But of course, if you've got that clear view down towards the first corner in what is going to be a particularly long grand final race, it will just give you that little bit more confidence. But Labusle there is ready to pick his pocket and does so. Through the Curva Grande, the Frenchman now back in front once more.
Yeah, we'll see a bit of this now until the last few laps. Just trying to position your car in the right place at the right time. And you might think, oh, why do they keep overtaking each other? It's because they get something called a slipstream or a draft, where if you drive behind the car in front of you, you don't face that same air resistance that they do, and you're able just to go faster, basically. You're able just to accelerate a bit quicker. Oh, Gallo, Mierzono. We've not mentioned Mierzono at all in this race, have we? Mierzono started in P8, up to P7 now, and slowly starting to make his way through the grid, but yeah, a little bit anonymous this one, to Mierzono.
A bit anonymous so far in the Nations Cup at all, really. He's only had 1 point after, of course, only 1 round in the championship, but yeah, it hasn't particularly been anything to write home about. I mean that with the greatest of respect, given the performances that we've seen from him, especially in the Manufacturers' Cup over the years as well, and also here in the Nations Cup as well. So let's hope that this is the weekend where we start seeing Takuma Mierzono's real pace shining through. He's now side by side here with Adriano Corazza. He's got the overspeed, he's got the inside line, and he's back through and into 6th place with a lovely move on the brakes there.
Yeah, decisive on the brakes there, but again, you have to think maybe slowing up the cars behind him. The gap between him and Serrano, 1.3 seconds, that's outside the drafting range, and he has 3 cars behind him. Corazza, Ura and Gallo, all incredibly fast people, just all thinking that I need to be first, I need to be leading this train. It's difficult sometimes to manage that ego.
Oh, look at this. Drumont is ready to try and pounce here on Sasaki. He's got great straight line speed, but just had to get out the throttle there through the Curva Grande, didn't he? Just trying to find his way through on the outside. The problem is, of course, that corner then becomes a bit of a tighter radius, and you can't make it through with the same amount of speed that you would have been carrying would you have been on the normal racing line. The upshot is that Drumont not able to make an overtaking attempt. Serrano's got a 1-second penalty there as well. That'll be down to track limits, so Serrano is going to face the same bother as his compatriot, who's managed to recover to 6th place after dropping down to 9th for the same discretion earlier on.
Now, I've noticed Kai de Bruin's got a really, really effective line through the chicane, through that De La Roja chicane there, just because he seems to know exactly where the track limits are. Serrano tried to follow him, slightly outside of that, bam. Track limit penalty, you can see, because the gap comes down by about half a second every time you go through there. Maybe this will be enough for De Bruin to get to the back, but he's doing it without help, so it's hard for 4th place to catch up to 3rd.
On board here then with Drumont. On the brakes we go in towards the Parabolica. Serrano then serves that penalty, drops 1 place behind Pole Euro, but that's actually pretty good damage limitation given that penalty. He'll have just darted straight back into the slipstream as soon as he possibly could with Euro, and the upshot is he doesn't lose too much time as a result of that. Guy Barber was given a warning, by the way, for bump drafting. He hasn't particularly made much of an impression on this race down in 12th position. Likewise, Angelina Stroza having something of a quiet one as well down in P10. On board here we are with Drumont though. Look at the overspeed he's got there with Sasaki as they come through this fast right-hander, and Sasaki's going to try and defend the line here. Is Drumont going to think about it to the inside? Kind of has a look, but the door's not really ajar there. But De Bruin, I tell you what, it was a 3-way fight a lap or so ago. It's now become a proper 4-way tussle here.
Yeah, Kai de Bruin's got pace. He's fast. Here's Corazza, Mierzono, another pass. Euro as well in the background. Like, you're going to make it 3 wide? Is he? Yeah, why not? Let's go 3 wide. Who's that in the background? Is that Gallo? Should we make it 4 wide? Yeah, let's try to make it 4 wide. Gallo in there as well. Freight trailing poor Takuma Mierzono, just a passenger there. And Gallo taking P6 and 7th respectively. Corazza up to 8th.
Well, Mierzono would have thought he left the handbrake on, given the fact that he was going backwards at such a vast rate of knots with 3 cars driving past him in the space of a couple of 100 metres. On board here, then, well, with Kai de Bruin, who sniffs an opportunity in his first podium in the Gran Turismo World Series. Let's see if this is the result that will be coming his way. You can see the pace that he's got and the ascension that he's made through the field, up 3 places from where he started. Likewise, also Valerio Gallo's had a good run of things. He's up 5 places from where he started to P6, and you just get the sense that Kai de Bruin just keeping his powder dry, waiting for the right opportunity, and he's going to be there, ready when it matters.
Now, I've always thought Kai de Bruin has what it takes to win one of his events. He's a really fast guy, but he's just not quite had the complete package. It's up ahead, Sasaki and Drumont have a little bit of side-to-side contact. But as you say, Thomas, lap 8, right now making a lunge of your life isn't really going to mean anything. It's just going to show your hand. So just do this, get close, be close enough to strike. That's all you've got to do. and then figure it all out on that last lap.
I love the detail on those onboard driver POV shots. You can see the turbo boost gauge going up and down like a fiddler's elbow, and the drivers soaring away at the wheel as they make their way through this legendary circuit. It is just a fantastic place to go racing, and what a car to do it in, which would have probably been on Monza back in the day in the World Sports Car Championship as it was known back then. I have to say, Leboutelet's not been too troubled for the race lead over the last lap or so. He's got 0.6 of a second in his pocket, nothing really to write home about. Still very much in slipstreaming range of the trio that are chasing him there behind, but he's again just not been bothered too much over the last couple of laps, and I wonder if he can use that to his advantage to just thwart the challenge for now.
Now, if you notice but Sasaki actually just pulled out of the slipstream, so he wants to be second right now. Yeah. We're starting to get into the 4D chess moment of this race. It's going to be between these four guys, I think. I'm not sure Euro has the pace to catch up to this little quartet as they go on to start their 9th lap, and everyone's now just trying to figure out, okay, where's the best place to overtake? Where do I want to be leading? Sasaki here thinking, okay, I'll have a go here. So he'll go up into P1, Leboutelet P2. Will Dumont follow him through or not? He might do. He's looking. There goes Dumont as well. Is he going to go for it? He goes for both of them. Dumont decides he wants to lead the race now, and up to P1 goes Kylian Drumont.
Well, now he becomes the hunter to becoming the hunted. So let's see how this works out here for Kylian Drumont, because of course he doesn't have the advantage of that slipstream with the hole being punched in the air in front of him, unlike the other three drivers who are behind. So you would imagine that Drumont will be a little bit vulnerable in terms of the lack of straight line speed that he'll be suffering from. There's still 3 laps left to go in this one, so keep an eye out for that gap with Euro. What's he, 2.5 seconds off the back of those 4? If they really do start getting their elbows out and duffing one another up, then it's not out the realms of possibility. I have to say, I do agree with you. I think it's quite unlikely at the moment. Out of Ascari we go, though, meanwhile. Now, what's the retaliation going to be from the likes of Sasaki and for Leboutelet? Down the back straight, Sasaki's on the inside line here then, just pulls out the slipstream as he did last time around against Thomas Leboutelet. So we know that these drivers behind have got the pace, and they're just biding their time, waiting for the opportunity. Someone who was waiting for the right opportunity was Kylian Drumont. Double slipstream there, a gap sort of opening on the inside, and then you saw Sasaki go back over to the normal racing line, which allowed the door to be propped open, and then Drumont just walked through it beautifully.
Yeah, a lot of faith there in his other drivers as we start to get spicy now. Sasaki pushed into the grass. Kind of brewing there's contact between the two. They're just about staying on the course. 2 by 2 now to the chicane. Who's to come out on top? Kind of brewing up to P3. Leboutelet now back up to the lead. No, it's Drumont. They are the two countrymen hitting each other. Kind of brewing is now up into P2, and Drumont down to P4. They're starting to see Mick Cazal there watching on, thinking, guys, what are you doing? Stop that.
Yeah, you get the impression that this isn't going to be a friendly fight. It's going to be a barroom brawl towards the end of this one, don't you? If that corner was anything to take stock of. Takumi Miyazono's just lost another place, by the way. He's down into 9th position. Again, just not a particularly brilliant race there for him. And Gallo's charge looks to have stalled in 6th position as well. He's about half a second off the back of Pole Euro. This, of course, counts for the grid position for the grand final, just to remind you. Now, on board then with Kylian Drumont, part of the team that made up the Nations Cup Championship winning outfit for Subaru back in 2022 and held in very high esteem within the Gran Turismo circles, bounced onto the scene in 2022, and ever since then he has never looked back. But through the final corner of Ascari, or Alboreto as it's now known, with Kylian Drumont here, and what can he do? We begin lap 11 out of 12, so 2 more to go then here for this one. And last time around through the Curva Grande is where we started seeing drivers pushing the limits, getting their elbows out, as De Bruyne now hits the front. He's used that slipstream, used the inside line, and he's taken the race lead away.
And leading for the first time now is Kai De Bruyne, but for how much longer? Sasaki back through there. I thought there was contact between the two. That would have been a huge crash if there were. Kai De Bruyne is leading for now. But Tom, do you want to be leading? Oh, he's got a penalty.
Yeah, they're under investigation. They were under investigation.
No, it was a
track limit.
Oh, Kai De Bruyne again and again, just his own worst enemy. A 1 second penalty there. Let's have a look at the overtaking that he did to get into the lead in the first place. To me, this is fine until then. A little bit of contact between the two, and Leboutelet and Drumont had a little bit of contact as well. Well, I don't really want to watch this right now. I want to watch the what's happening at the front of the field.
It's going to be into here, isn't it? Yeah, he just biffs into the back of Leboutelet, which sends him into the side of Drumont.
Can't do much there. If they're stopping on the apex and you're there, there's not much you can really do, I don't think. But a 1 second penalty is going to completely ruin his race. What a shame. That could have been a win for him.
Well, let's see how it works out. So he drops then down into 4th place. His only hope now is that those top 3 will still squabble. I mean, he's still in slipstreaming range. He's not out of the realms of possibility of this one. Can Kai de Bruyne have a fight back here on this final lap? So we come to start it then at Monza. It's Sasaki, Laboutelet and Drumont trailing off the back by 0.6 of a second is the luckless Kai de Bruyne. And keep an eye out for Jura and Gallo, who look set to start squabbling behind. Here comes Laboutelet on Sasaki, down the start-finish straight into the Curva Grande. Drumont makes it 3 abreast. On the outside is Drumont, in the middle is Laboutelet. On the inside here is Sasaki, who ducks out of it. He decides to let the 2 Frenchmen start battling amongst one another, and will wait for the opportunity to come his way. Into the Delaroche chicane, Drumont's got the inside line, Laboutelet's on the outside, Park's still on the apex. Nothing doing there for Sasaki because there's no opportunity to use any extra momentum that he had, and the upshot is coming through to the Lesmos. It's Drumont who's got the advantage, and De Bruyne is right back in the picture in 4th as well.
Yeah, French roadblock there. You can't help but think that might not have been a little bit coordinated by the guys in the blue Porsche 962s, just making sure no one else can attack. But Drumont leads now as we come into the last half of the last lap here in the sprint race. Laboutelet second, Sasaki third, and Kai de Bruyne, even with his penalty, holding on there in 4th position. Of course, reminders will set the grid for the grand final coming up after this. But Kylian Drumont looking like he's got this one sewn up, Tom.
Well, coming out onto the back straight and in towards the Parabolica, I have to say, I kind of agree with you. Half a second is the advantage he's got in his back pocket, and has Kylian Drumont pulled an absolute blinder here? Could we see a French 1-2 occupying the grid for the grand final? No one's close enough to send a Lancer on the inside. They're going to have to now be relying on a mistake out of this final corner, which no one seems to make, and the upshot is it is going to be a French 1-2 in the sprint race. Kylian Drumont wins it from Thomas Laboutelet. Takuma Sasaki in 3rd, ahead of Kai de Bruyne in 4th, with Jura completing the top 5. Well, it promised so much, that race.
Yeah, big up, guys. Kraz-e-kraz YouTube. It looks like I've made a mistake here, guys, today. It looks like I've done them back to front. So, yeah, tomorrow, I apologise about that, and tomorrow I'll get it right. That's right. This is GT World Series backwards. I'm Kraz-e-kraz. K-R-A-Z, Kraz-e. That's me. Dope. Thank you, guys. So this race here would have been the first race, okay? But like, we've seen the final. We know who got the final. Then we went that way. We should have gone there. So I do apologise, and we'll get it right tomorrow. So enjoy the first but last race of the stream. Thank you, guys. I'm Kraz-e-kraz, K-R-A-Z, Kraz-e. That's me. Yeah, if you're new to the channel, like, subscribe, add, join, play, comment, and most importantly, enjoy all content. Check out the playlist and the community page. Thank you.
Here in Berlin for Gran Turismo World Series 2. How is this one going to play out, and how are the championship tables going to reflect the results as we head further into the World Series of this season? Well, Kylian Drumont continues the strong momentum for Subaru as they line up on pole position here today with Thomas Laboutelet and BMW alongside. Then it's Porsche. Disappointment in London. They bounce back to start P3 ahead of Mikolaj Sejak in 4th position, the Polish driver who makes his debut for Nissan. Then it's Pol Jura for Mazda, P5. Valerio Gallo in the Honda NSX is 6th on the grid. Lucas Binelli lines up P7 for Mercedes AMG, and Alfiler with the Saudi Arabian driver for Toyota, P8. De Bruyne lines up P9, and then you've got Giorgio Mangino in 10th position for Lexus. João Jesus for Ferrari in 11th position, and Jay Murphy, the McLaren driver. A lot of support for him here tonight. And now, of course, our first look at the tyre strategies for the first time. Now, we can see the top two, Drumont and Laboutelet, they've started on the soft combative tyre, which to me indicates that they're going to try and make a break early.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've seen the pace from Drumont in qualifying, and of course, Laboutelet, both very quick over a single lap. Last thing they want to do is ruin the ability to run that pace by running in a pack. So, yeah, go for soft tyre. I'm surprised to see Sejak there running the hard tyre in P4. So he will be basically in the way of all the medium runners behind, but the longer he can keep them there, the better for his race. So definitely some strategy in those tyre calls already.
Yeah, it seems like he's sort of trying to go ugly early, as it were. Get those hard tyres out the way as soon as he possibly can. Hold the pack up while they're all quite close behind and see whether he can use that to his advantage. Well, let's see what will happen. Who has called the strategy right? Who will be taking the checkered flag and those all-important 6 points? We're about to find out as Gran Turismo World Series 2 for the Manufacturers' Cup here in Berlin is underway. Drummond and Subaru lead them down towards the first corner, followed by Le Boutelet and then Serrano and then Sejak in the Porsche and the Nissan respectively. Don't expect any dive bombs down into that first corner, but Serrano closing up. I say that, there are some dive bombs taking place as Jura is making hay whilst the sun shines. He's already on the attack against Sejak, but Sejak goes back through on Valerio Gallo as well as Jura, back up into fourth. So moves being made in the mid-pack there, and Sejak looking a little bit vulnerable as we expected on those hard tyres.
Yeah, Sejak there showing Jura the outside of the circuit. Really hard defending early on, but you're seeing the difference there, those hard tyres. They take a while to fire up. They're going to be cold right now. When they're cold, they have less grip. So right now, Jura, Benelli, Gallo all making advantage of the fact they have a softer compound, is up to temperature quicker, and they're just able to drive by him like he's standing still. You could argue maybe that's not a bad thing because they're not going to squabble so much, but if you're Sejak, you've gone from fourth to seventh in about 3 corners.
Yeah, losing track position means, of course, you're going to have to gain that a little bit later on. You can see fairly robust driving from Sejak coming through the Michael Schumacher S there as well. He's just got Alifa in the Lamborghini right behind him, who's on the medium compound of tyres. Then you've got 3 other hard shod runners. Meanwhile, sharp end of this race, nothing really to report from Drummond and Le Boutelet. They've cleared off about a second or so ahead of Jose Serrano, as one would begin to expect. First corner incident here is under investigation, as we can see on our screen as well. We'd love to get a replay of that and see exactly what happened. We did see some dive bombs to the inside there for Pol Jura, but was there a bit more that meets the eye that we perhaps didn't quite manage to make a break of? Either way, we go on to the Nordschleife layout for the first time, and it's Drummond in front from Le Boutelet, and now is where those soft tyres on these medium speed corners are going to be really having their advantage.
Yeah, and you wouldn't know the GP circuit is in any way related to this track. When you get onto it, it's completely different. You go from long run-offs to barriers being far away, gravel traps, to basically if you make a mistake, you are in that barrier. And lots of curbs here, you have to memorise which ones you can and which ones you can't touch. It's a unique challenge just to get around here on your own, let alone when you're sharing the circuit with 11 other maniacs. So a lot of fun there. But speaking of maniacs, here's Valerio Gallo in the NSX. Very, very fast driver and trying to close the gap between himself and Jose Serrano. So Serrano is the leader of the medium runners. This is something you have to keep an eye on right now as we go to the front of the field. Drummond having to try and defend from Thomas Le Boutelet. He's going to look maybe around the outside here. Not really a spot to get that done. But again, we're seeing the Achilles heel of that Subaru. The BMW able to drive up to the back of it, but decides better of it as Thomas Le Boutelet. He's going to stay in second place for now.
Drummond a little bit deep, though, going into that right-hander. I wonder if that might have compromised him a little bit, but he's certainly feeling the pressure here of his compatriot. The two Frenchmen at the sharp end of this race, and you can see how Le Boutelet is able to use that slipstream to his advantage to close up. I don't think he's going to invent something into this section of the circuit, because it will both send them into the barrier, and indeed Le Boutelet thinks better of it. But the question is here for Kylian Drummond, how long can he keep Le Boutelet behind? Is it going to cost them time, though, as well? Because Serrano's there, 2 seconds off the back of them. If the top 2 start squabbling amongst one another, all that's going to do is bring them back into the gap that they've created and bring Serrano Gallo potentially into play for this.
You have to think of the long game here, because everyone's got different strategies, everyone's trying their own little thing here. So I think if I'm Thomas Le Boutelet in that BMW, I'm thinking, right, okay, I know I'm going to pass this guy on the back straight if I'm within half a second. So I'll just stay there for now and let this guy pull me along, because in the medium speed corners, that Subaru is super quick. Anyway, back to T1. I think there was an incident here with Giorgio Mangano. Contact there. Oh, there's a Supra there. Toyota getting spun, kind of Brewer, but then Mangano is spat out by João Jesus there. So I'm not quite sure. No further action from the stewards. I think that was just everyone trying to go for the same bit of tarmac there, didn't they?
It's difficult, isn't it, when it concertinas up in corners like that, especially in the first corner, and you know it's not particularly wide part of the circuit. It really does bottleneck up. So I guess race direction just deeming it, first corner dramas, don't do it again. As long as that doesn't happen any further times, then it should be all right. So let's look at the drivers here who are on the hard compounds of tyres, the likes of Sejak, Jesus, De Bruyne and Murphy. how are they going to play this one? Because, of course, they're hemorrhaging time at the moment. They're sort of taking the pain early on, but in theory, the race will come back to them in the latter stages, depending on what strategies they go for. You can see that brought up on our screen at the moment. You can get 2 laps out of the soft tyres if you're particularly careful. But if you're the likes of Laboutale and Drumont, I mean, look, they've cleared off 3 seconds at the sharp end of this one. They're not hanging about here. They're not saving their tyres, are they?
Yeah, but look at this as well. The difference here in speed up the hill. Just in that draft, I'm surprised Laboutale went for 6th gear there. Maybe just to save that little bit of fuel. Fuel is also a concern around here, by the way. You have to make sure you're fueled up the right amount to get to the end. Sounds simple, but it's hard to do in practice when you're there driving these things around the ring. But yeah, as you say, Tom, like, it's just trying to make sure you don't fall too far back at this point. And it just, I get the impression that Laboutale is just kind of biding his time. And we see the background there, Jose Serrano. That is the gap visually to third position and the start of those medium runners. So for the carousel for the first time, great bit of racetrack there. You really feel the car fighting for its life through there. And Gallo there leading the charge for 4th place onwards. But I say, if anything, falling back from Serrano a little bit.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out, because I was mentioning about the hard shot runners, you know, damage limitation for them, but exactly the same story for the medium shot runners. You've got now 3 sort of sets of drivers all in their own group, all running their own strategies, and this is what happens in the Manufacturers' Cup when you have races like this, is that, you know, they're not necessarily the most action-packed ones in the first couple of laps, but towards the end, once all the strategies all work out, the fuel stops, the tyre saving and so on and so forth, once they've all taken place, you get a really exciting crescendo to this race. So the likes of Drumont and Laboutale, fine, the race is great for them in these early stages of it, but the latter stages, they're going to be taking that pain that the drivers on the medium and the hard runners are suffering from now, so they're going to be slower towards the end of the race, and the converse for those behind.
Yeah, coming through the last third of the Nordschleife. Now, my favourite bit of racetrack, this. It's just so fast, so flowing. You have to really trust the car through here, especially through this section here. You come over the Flansgarten jump, see it coming off the floor there, and then you're met immediately with the Stefan Beloff S coming up now, where the car just skips all over the place. You almost have to just trust in that mysterious aerodynamic thing that you can't see, but it is there, and then just thread the car through the curve. This exhilarating piece of racetrack, but it is very much one at a time through there, as Gallo has pulled away slightly from Paul Ura. Now, what I'm interested in seeing now is whether Drumont has managed to gap Laboutale, which he has a little bit, a second now. That is kind of getting out of draft range, so that might mean Laboutale won't be able to pass here going down towards T1.
Yeah, let's see whether Laboutale can use the straight line speed to his advantage if he can close up, as you say, from that gap that has been created. What about Lucas Benelli, Mercedes-AMG? Benelli, we can see him there, very interesting driving position that he has. He sort of sits quite close to the wheel, almost on it, really, whereas you look at Paul Ura, much more relaxed in terms of his arm positioning there. And now Benelli has got the bit between his teeth, because he's got the slipstream and he's got the straight line speed to take advantage of Paul Ura as we come down the Döttinger. Side by side we go between the Mazda and the Mercedes. It's going to be nice and easy for the Mercedes to go through, but what about, yeah, exactly that, what I was about to say, the Honda, because they're going to get boxed in here. Valerio Gallo loses 1 place, loses 2 places potentially, because Paul Ura is now side by side with Gallo as they come up and over the rise. It's always a bit tense and a bit sketchy coming through here 2 by 2, but Gallo just decides to not fight it too hard, as the top 2 at the sharp end of this one come into the pit lane at the end of the first lap off the soft tyres. Now, which way are they going to go in terms of their strategy?
Yeah, fresh set of the virtual Dunlop tyres going on. Our first Dunlop pit stop, I think this is, Tom. So cool to have Dunlop, of course, now as official partner of the Gran Turismo World Series. What's going on, though? So softs come off, mediums go on there for Drumont. Same for Laboutale as well. Kind of Bruin coming in, getting off those hard compounded tyres early. Only doing 1 lap on those. So I guess going for 3 on the medium then, or 4 on the medium, it must be.
It's going to be an interesting one to see how that works out. You know, medium tyres, they're okay, but, you know, in terms of their longevity, certainly not as good as the hard tyres. The converse is the hard tyres are a few seconds a lap slower than the medium. So I guess he's just trying to take the pain for that and get off it. You can see there he's a full-time automotive engineering student, is Kai de Bruyne, so he's well-versed in sort of adapting to changes on the fly. And let's see whether that's one that will pay off for the Dutchman, who, of course, as we know, is still seeking his first podium in the Gran Turismo World Series. Meanwhile, sharp end of this race is now occupied by Jose Serrano, who's in the lead. Lucas Benelli, who of course we saw getting ahead of Jura and Gallo down the Dossinghur at the end of the last lap, now sits in second in the Mercedes AMG. Jura's into third. Gallo's here just giving you a watching brief in fourth place. It's interesting as well looking at the likes of Drumont and Le Boutelet, because they went from the soft to the medium tyres. I mean, Le Boutelet, he has to follow what Drumont's doing if he doesn't want to lose track position. That's the problem with being second on the road. You've kind of got to follow the strategy and then work it out later on.
Yeah, I mean, that's not always a bad thing, though, because I think if the positions were reversed, you'd just see the same sort of thing. You would see the Le Boutelet leading from Drumont. It would just be a waiting game. And sometimes it is that. I mean, it's a high-speed game of chess. I say that a lot in these broadcasts, because it is. These guys are at the level now where strategy often decides the race. The actual drive performance is so close, so we'll keep an eye on those and keep you informed. Benelli's struggling there for the first part of the Hutzenbach complex, just trying to get the car turned in. Of course, that AMG front engine, so prone to sometimes a little bit of understeer. Looks like it's really struggling with the front end through there, but able to keep the pace for now. Meanwhile, looking down the field, Sejak on the hard compounded tyre is ahead of Giorgio Mangano, who started on the medium. So Sejak having a very good race at the moment, despite starting on that slower tyre.
Yeah, we know that Mangano, of course, was caught in some bother, don't we, down at that first corner, which kind of started the Lexus drivers' race off on the back foot. They've, bear in mind, they're reigning champions. Lexus have had a dog's day so far of 2025. It's not been brilliant. Pointless in London, and now down in 7th place for this. They'll be really hoping for fortune to favour them in the second half of this race, and also in the second half of the Gran Turismo World Series for 2025 as well. Benelli, a little bit wide there, just going through that right-hander. Might allow Jura and Gallo to close up just a touch. It's, again, very much one at a time through this part of the lap, but you wonder whether Benelli's just starting to push a little bit harder, maybe just making a couple of mistakes and allowing a bit of a sniff of an opportunity here for Jura and Gallo possibly to see where Benelli is a little bit weaker, maybe on the exits of the corners or the entries to the corners, wherever it may be, and use that to their advantage to try and create an overtaking opportunity.
Yeah, I get the impression Benelli actually is maybe holding these guys up a little bit at the moment. We'll see, though. He needs to try and bridge that gap, because we know Paul Jura will go for a move. We know Gallo will go for a move if he sees one there, so always one to watch out for.
So Serrano it is at least 2.5 seconds to the sharp end of this race. He's still got the 3 hard shot runners of Sejak, Jesus and Murphy, the 3 newcomers, 3 out of 4 newcomers who are racing at this one. I have to say, Nafir Al-Faliya, the Saudi Arabian driver making his debut in this event, is doing a great job of things in the Lamborghini, currently sitting in P5. Meanwhile, this is Mangano returning the favour on Sejak, just coming through that left-hander.
Yeah, I think there's Kate on there from Sejak, just basically saying, yeah, go on, mate, off you go, don't worry about it, pull me along. And yeah, there they are. Jesus there as well, of course, right behind Sejak. And man, that's that 458. I haven't heard a V8 Ferrari like that for a while. Sounds great, that thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, you would say that you've just gone and bought one. And it's not a 458, but a Ferrari V8.
All right.
No, it's a cracking sounding car. It's a 9,000 RPM out of the box, that car. It's the last naturally aspirated V8 Ferrari ever made, and probably likely to have ever been made as well, with Jesus behind the wheel, piloting it in 8th position. Meanwhile, 2nd, 3rd and 4th still running nose to tail with one another. Benelli ahead of Jura, ahead of Valerio Gallo as they come over the rise. So all pretty steady at the sharp end of this one, but Serrano doing a good job of having built a gap actually to the trio of drivers. I say fairly steady because Jura is now on the attack against Benelli as they go side by side, and the door is going to open here for Gallo. There's a bit of contact in the mid part of that right-hander there as Benelli just sort of almost emerged into one. The upshot is the Brazilian driver drops 2 places.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that coming. I think now these guys have been waiting to sort of be released from Benelli, and I think we're probably going to see Benelli force the back of these guys now. He has a good effort having the Mercedes up there, but he just hasn't quite had the same level of precision and pace as these guys early on. So keep an eye on Paul Jura, keep an eye on Valerio Gallo to go through the carousel for the second time. Still more than half of this race left, so a lot can happen at this point. A lot of pit stops still to come as well. Big question really is whether a lot of these medium runners are they going to box at the end of this lap.
Yeah, it's interesting looking at the sector times. They all look pretty good out there. I mean, they're not going to be as quick. As Drumont is a little bit deep there with Le Boutelet all over his rear wing, and I just wonder whether Drumont's mistake is just going to give the opportunity here for Laboutelet to try and attack, and is he going to use that to his advantage? Where are they up the road to Murphy? About 1.3 seconds away from the Irish driver, so they could come into play here as well, because Murphy's on a slower compound of tyre and could be a bit of a cork in the bottle. It might favour Laboutelet, it might favour Drumont, depending on how it works out, really. Let's have a look at what happened meanwhile with Benelli. So you've got Ura here on the outside. We're in a flat out part of this circuit, and then Gallo is going to get a bit of a biff. Does a very good job to keep it on the straight and narrow. The upshot is, though, as we said, Benelli losing 2 places.
It was fine. I think it was fine. It's just hard racing, you know. They both came out okay, and I think that, yeah, no further action from my point of view anyway. But I'm not a steward as much as I try to be.
Oh, Drumont on the inside there of Jay Murphy, and now this is important here for Thomas Laboutelet as well. He needs to get ahead of the Irish driver in that McLaren as soon as he possibly can, because all the time he's stuck behind him, he's losing track position, losing time that he's then going to have to gain back up later on in the race. And is Murphy going to have anything to do with defending it? He is. He sort of parks the car on the apex there, denies an opportunity for Laboutelet. So this is music to the ears of Kylian Drumont. Side by side they go. Laboutelet's got the inside line and surely will now finally take the position, but you know, he's lost about a second or so in relation to his compatriots.
Yeah, that is going to be huge for BMW's race there, because now they've lost that slipstream, they've lost that toe, and will he be able to get it back again? We know that Laboutelet has pace in that BMW, but has he got enough to claw back the gap to Kylian Drumont? This is the best pace for him down the straight here. That BMW does have legs, the Subaru does not. So let's see. But Drumont already now coming up to the back of the guys who haven't pitted so far. Oh, but Benelli back past Gallo.
Yep, so Benelli on the attack against Valerio Gallo, coming down the Dossinger Her then. So the 2 medium shod runners still squabbling for position. The Mercedes is ahead for now, but what about Gallo in that Honda NSX? He's going to try and retaliate at the end as we come through the fast left hand, and we've already seen side-by-side action between these two. It just about stayed clean last time. This time, Benelli is able to hold firm ahead of the Italian. As Serrano then comes into the pits from the lead of the race. Are the other medium shod runners all coming in? Looks like they are, aside from Valerio Gallo. He's decided to go for another lap.
Yeah, interestingly, I think that this is where the strategies are going to start to diverge. And it's like Knife Alfala doing the same thing as well. Also going for the...
So this is interesting, actually, because we were talking about this to Mikael Hizal yesterday, who is very much involved as part of, you know, balancing the performance of these cars, and he was saying that the mid-engined rear-wheel drive cars, i.e. the Honda NSX, the Lamborghini, etc., they're a bit easier on their tyres compared to the front-engine cars, like the Mercedes, like the BMW, for example, so, you know, like the Lexus. So maybe they're using that mid-engine layout, and they've just got a bit more tyre life in their pocket compared to their competitors, and that's what is giving them the comfort to carry on.
Yeah, but the downside to running those mid-engine cars is they're a bit nicer on turn and they rotate better, but of course that means they're a bit more sketchy. They tend to wear the rears a bit quicker as well. So Gallo might be leading right now, but he's going to have a car that's going to be handling... It's going to be pretty tricky getting this thing around at pace on on these worn medium tyres. But Gallo, we know he's a very quick, very capable driver, our 2021 Nations Cup champion, of course. But I should say, yet to taste success in the Manufacturers' Cup.
Be interesting to see a comparison in the lap times here as well between the likes of Gallo and then Kylian Drumont, because they're both on the medium compound of tyres. Of course, Gallo's been on those from the start. Drumont has changed from the softs onto the medium, so they're both worn tyres, but Drumont's are in a far better condition compared to Valerio Gallo. Where were we last time around? So Gallo was an 8:09, but of course we saw Drumont pitting last time around as well. So we'll keep an eye on the different sector times. At the moment, Gallo is looking pretty handy at the sharp end of this one. So let's see how he can work this one out, and also what the likes of Drumont and Laboutelet can do. But the gap between Drumont and Laboutelet, we saw it increasing courtesy of Jay Murphy sort of interjecting between the two. It's now up to 1.6 seconds, so out of slipstreaming range.
You know, importantly, Gallo has got something that not really anyone else has right now, which is a nice big clear circuit in front of him. So right now he's just driving into that gap and trying to make as much of a gap as possible.
Now, I was talking about Mikael Hizal a few moments ago, and this is by magic he's come and joined us in the commentary box. Mick, great to have you here. How are you?
Hey, good, and you guys?
Very good. All the better for having you here. This is going to be, I think, the thinking driver's race, this one, isn't it? There's a lot of different strategies going on in terms of tyres and in terms of fuel. How do you see this one working out? Who, in your opinion, having watched it from the sidelines at the moment, is in a prime position?
So, like, you already talked about the tyre wear before, like the different strategies where some of the other drivers already went into the pit at the end of lap 2. Personally, when I saw that, I was already quite surprised to see them coming in so early, because normally you would try to use the softer tyre compound as long and as much as possible. So I'm kind of scared of their second lap on the soft tyre compound, so you might see some drama towards the end of the race.
So this is for the drivers that pitted and they're on the medium tyres at the moment. They're going to do 2 laps on the hard. Let's have a look here. This is what cost Laboutale ultimately against Jay Murphy. Murphy doing his own race, entitled to be in that position, but Laboutale, of course, has now hemorrhaged time to Drummond, and that's a big gap that he's now going to make.
Yeah, but I think in those moments, like, if you're Jay Murphy, you know you're going to get passed by that guy. There's no point fighting, and you both cost each other time at that point. So, I mean, as you say, definitely his own race, but he just cost himself time in the end. But I mean, Mick, of course, you've driven here tons of times. Virtually, you know these cars inside out. What would you say is the key factor to getting around here quickly and in one piece? I mean, all these different guys with different machinery as well. So,
I think the biggest factor for this track is confidence. If you don't have the confidence to use the curves or like to know your car well around the circuit, then you're automatically going to end up losing a lot of time here, and we are already talking about the longest circuit in the world. So obviously there are a few cars on the track which are like easy to drive compared to a few other cars here, such as the Honda and the Ferrari, in my opinion, are a bit harder to drive than some of the other FR cars out there. But nevertheless, we are talking about the best drivers here in the world, and usually I also expect them to have like a lot of confidence in their own car.
So we have Kevin Drummond now in the Subaru going up the inside of Giorgio Mangano, just lets him through there. As you said before, just making sure to lose as little time as possible. Now with Valerio Gallo, he's gone for that third lap on the medium tyres. They're pretty worn right now. That car's mid-engine. What can he be expecting handling-wise now for the second half of this lap?
I think he should be still fine towards the end of the lap, because I expect him to do either 1 lap on a hard tyre and then to finish off the race on 2 laps on softs, because normally the lighter your car is, it's also going to be more gentle on your tyres, and I think that's the objective of Valerio here.
Well, we're talking about the difference between the medium tyres and who's on worn tyres and who's on less worn tyres. Drummond, of course, changed over from the softs at the start of this one over to the medium tyres. He's now, of course, driving like he's left the gas on here, really, isn't he? Because he's up into 3rd place, ahead of Giorgio Mangano. And again, that gap between himself and Thomas Laboutale, I mean, it's not really increased. It's still about 1.5 seconds, relatively speaking. But, it's pretty stable between those two at the moment. So, be keen to see how quickly Laboutale is going to be able to dispose of Mangano here. Because, again, this could cost him time. And ultimately, it's going to mean that he's going to have to try and make that time up later on in the race.
Now, I'm also a bit scared to see Mangano, due to the tyre life of his medium tyres at the moment. It's going to hold up Thomas Laboutale from the downhill section onwards, but maybe he can also try to overtake Mangano like Keenan did on Jay Murphy on the previous lap. If he's able to do that, then it's still anything open for the fight for the victory.
Well, catching the wrong driver at the wrong time on this circuit, Jimmy, as you well know, is a difficult thing to have to contend with. How do you manage that frustration inside the cockpit when you know you've got a quicker car, you know you're going to be able to find your way through? How do you do it?
Let me tell you, I'm glad there's not a mic in that cockpit, because you should hear me. I mean, you might have heard the Frank Stippler thing from a little while ago.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Either that, or I am glued to the high beam button. The get out of the way, move. There you go. Yeah, through goes the Laboutale there, getting it done. And again, I think Mangano, Giorgio's been around for a long time. He knows the score. He's not going to sit there on the racing line and cost him both time. But gets out of the way, does it in a way that costs him as little time as possible. But they're good for now. Interestingly, Gallo's gap at the front has gone up now to 7 seconds. It was 4.9 at the start of the lap, and of course he hasn't pitted yet as well. So Drummond and Gallo, the ones to watch right now, I think, as well as Laboutale also has taken his pit stop.
So, how's this one going to play out? Because, of course, Drummond and Laboutale, they're going to be on the hard tyres for the closing stages of this race, whereas the likes of Valerio Gallo, he started on the medium, he's on the medium, so he's going to run the softs and the hards. The drivers that have run the hards at the moment. You've got Serrano, Jura and Benelli, so they're sort of taking the pain now in this middle stint of the race, hoping that, of course, when they get into the latter stage of it, that they're going to be able to just, drive through and wait for the seats to part, essentially.
That's true, but I think because of them only using the medium tires for 2 laps only, I see they want to use the soft tire compound for 2 laps as well. I'm just a little bit scared to see that the end of the second lap is going to be so, I don't want to say bad, but really, really slow for them, so that they can even see the finish line in the end. So.
Oh, look at the closing speed here for Laboutelet on Alflia, then going through on the Dottinger up into 3rd place then for Thomas Laboutelet. So those are your 2 effective race leaders here, Drumont and Laboutelet at the moment, though they're in 2nd and 3rd on the road. Of course, Gallo, as we know, still has a pit stop. He makes that pit stop now. Goes for the medium tyres. Which way is he going to go in terms of this one? Surely it'll be hard tyres for a middle stint and then soft tyres towards the end, or are they going to ignore that strategy and just do something completely different? Let's see how it is going to work out. Either way, Gallo has gone a lap longer than some of his other competitors, and it seems to have made it work okay so far, and he actually goes for the soft tyres, so he's going to have the hard tyres at the end of that one. Is that the way you'd have gone, Mick?
Wait, I'm just realising, Kenya and Thomas started the race on soft tyres, right?
Yeah.
So did they only do 2 laps on mediums?
Let's have a look. They did 3 laps on mediums according to
Okay.
one lap on soft tyres, then change up to the medium tyres.
Okay, then I was just seeing something wrong. My bad, I apologise.
Don't worry about it, we've all been there.
Like, what are you doing?
I got scared for a second there, but...
Well, so look, the upshot is now you've got Drumont and Laboutelet. They're now on the hard tyres to the end of this race, aren't they? They're not going to be pitting again because it would be completely pointless, you would assume.
Exactly, yeah.
Right, because obviously, the time you're going to lose, even if you went onto the soft tyres, it's not enough time that you would gain, essentially, even if you're on a quicker compound at the end of this one. So they're now in a position where, from now until the checkered flag, they're losing time compared to everybody else that's behind them. You've got Serrano, Jura and Benelli. They're on the hard tyres for the middle stint. What they're trying to do, I guess, is eke these out so they can get as fresh a soft tyres as they can for the end of it.
That's one of the plans they have, but on the same time to have as less fuel as possible.
Right.
Because for this race, we're using times for tyre wear around the circuit, which is a lot. Like, once your tyres are in a really bad shape, you're going to end up losing a lot of time compared to the other drivers who have much fresher tyres than you. And I assume at the end of this lap we might see Serrano going to go into the pits as well as Paul Bura and Lucas Bonelli, unless they might go for a bit safer strategy to continue the race, or continue to get another lap on the hard tyre compound and finish off on the soft.
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? You do 2 laps on the soft tyre, you can do it if you're the tyre whisperer, but it's, we were talking about it before the start of this race. It's not an easy thing to do.
Yes, because if you want to do 2 laps on the soft, your out lap alone has to be so gentle. Because once you do Kenya did get a slide on the tyres, it's going to affect your tyre run in the end. And with times 4 for the soft tyre compounds, this is something that tyre, doesn't like it either.
Really, really interesting insights there from Mick Gazelle. I've been keeping an eye on the front of the field, Tony Serrano and Paul Jura there on the hard compounder tyre. I mean, never count these guys out. We know how quick the Spanish duo are. Serrano now 4 seconds to good of Paul Jura in that Porsche. What do you think, Mick? Do you reckon that strategy is the one? I mean, they're out on their own. I mean, they're on the hard tyre, but there's no one around them, not losing speed.
I think this might not be too bad to be on. I think this might not be too bad to be on your own, because we've already seen with Kylian Drumont and Thomas Laboutelet on the previous lap. If you are getting stuck with traffic in front of you, you're going to end up losing a lot of time, which is not really optimal for your own stakes. But if you're on your own, you can also dictate your own race. And let's see. I think the end of the race is going to be pretty exciting.
Yeah, another look there of the pass of Laboutelet on Mangano last lap. Back to lap 4, and we see that Laboutelet has gone right back up to the rear spoiler of Kylian Drumont. That 1.5 second gap gone as well. There is a fuel to consider in this race as well, so he might have put a little bit less in. Looking at he's got about the same fuel as Drumont right now. So very, very close. And that's really basically happened because Jay Murphy went onto on the medium compounder tyre and overtook them both and then put them back together again. Yeah, it's interesting how it's sort of caused this bottleneck effect now really here with Jay Murphy, again, being the cork in the bottle. We saw that with Laboutelet.
in the opening stages of this race, and he sort of ended up back in exactly the same position here with Alifa, Drumont and Laboutele right on his rear wing, and let's see whether it's going to cost them time. I mean, Alifa here, again, he's not in a race with effectively what is the top two, and all the while they're stuck behind him. They're just hemorrhaging time, corner by corner. They need to try and find their way through sooner rather than later.
But even if you want to let the other drivers behind you go through because they're like in their own race in a different strategy, doing it at this circuit is so difficult to do, which some of the other drivers are also underestimating in the end.
Oh, look at that! Drumont getting aggressive, and Alifa into the wall! Side by side they go. That's going to cost Drumont. It might even open the door here for Laboutele to find his way through. Amazingly, they all manage to exit the corner in exactly the same positions and indeed the same direction as they entered. But that was pretty aggressive and robust, and a little bit scrappy from Kylian Drumont there.
Just as Mick was saying it there, he had to make the move. You have to just go for it sometimes, but it requires the other driver to let it happen. And right now there, Nathan Alifa did not allow that, but now putting indicator on after the damage is done, I think. It's all right, I'm sorry, I'll get out of the way. And for good measure, hip check on the way by. These guys are not hanging around, but more importantly, all that time they spent there behind the Lamborghini has meant they've all lost time to the field. So what was a strong start for both Drumont and Laboutele might change now. Now, if you're Laboutele, do you go for the pass here? You've got the opportunity to do so. You're into the toe.
Well, it has worked beautifully here for Laboutele, hasn't it? Because if you remember, they had a 1.5 second gap a couple of laps ago, and it's brought the Frenchman right back onto the rear wing of the Subaru here, and brought him back into contention effectively for the what could be the victory of this race. So let's see how this one is going to work out. We're heading towards the middle part of the lap, in towards the carousel section. There's no overtaking through this part of the lap, not unless you fancy getting your Christmas dinner through a straw. And Laboutele sitting in the wheel tracks of the Subaru as they come through this fantastically famous banked corner, arguably the most historical part of the Nordschleife layout.
I'm interested to see, Tom, sorry to cut over you there, what Gallo's doing, because he's now sort of stuck behind the first two that are on hard tyres. Let's have a look at this one more time. Yeah, slowest part of the circuit there, and there's just no gap for error. As soon as there's contact, you find yourself just going straight towards the barrier. Drumont there thinking, oops, probably shouldn't have done that.
If you're a steward, Mick, we saw it was under investigation. Are you going to be looking at that? And is that cause for a penalty, do you think?
Personally, I'm not the person who wants to decide like those kind of incidents here. But if I want to make those kind of moves, I will be a bit smarter in the end. Because for sure, you don't want to end up losing a lot of time due to the driver in front of you having worse tires than you. And you also have like your opponent literally being behind of you.
Exactly as Jimmy said, by the way. Look at this. He's all over the back of Pol Ura like a bad rash here, trying to get his way past. Of course, Gallo on the soft component tyre, Ura on the hard tyres. Fuel to consider here as well for the front runners. Look how much less fuel Serrano has got compared to Ura. He's got, what, 13 litres fewer.
This is a nightmare for Gallo, because he spent the entirety of the last half of the lap here stuck behind the car on hard tyres. He's just basically wasting that soft tyre life. I mean, maybe good for his plan, Nick. Maybe he's going to go try and do soft tyre for 2 laps. He can just sort of let the tyre rest a little bit, but I think it's not worth the time, surely.
Yeah, I think it plays in the hands of Pol Ura in the end, because not only can he hold Valerio Gallo behind of him, who's like on the soft tyre compound at the moment, but once he uses the soft tyre compound later on, he will have much fresher tyres than Valerio at that stage.
Yeah, and also look at Lucas Bonelli. He's keeping him right in play here behind in that Mercedes as well. And Bonelli in this race still owns the soft compound of tyre as well. Now let's see what the slipstream is going to be like here for Valerio Gallo and for Lucas Bonelli. Ura is surely going to be a sitting duck. Gallo pulls to his inside, and you would imagine you're going to see Lucas Bonelli going through before too long. There he is, stayed right. And Ura losing 2 places down the Dottinger Her. So now you've got a Honda and an AMG in front of a Mazda for second and third at this stage of the race. Now let's see what Gallo can do in the closing stages of this one, as Serrano does finally pit from the race lead. He had no choice, he's got no fuel left.
Yeah, he had to box there. Comes Laboutele on. Look at that speed difference there on the Subaru, like it's standing still. There goes the Team BMW and Thomas Laboutele up into what will be, we think, the overall lead, but we don't know. Right now it's for 10th on circuit, everyone's pitting in, so it'll all shake out once it's done. Oh, a little bit of a sideways moment there. You can see Thomas now really trying to get that hammer down.
So Jura then comes into the box, as well as De Bruyne. Serrano's in there as well, and we're going to see a smorgasbord of drivers, I'm sure, going on to the soft compound of tyres for the closing stages of this one, which is, as we know, going to handicap those who are in front. And we've got, what, 2 laps now remaining. And in 2 laps on any normal circuit, not that long of a time. 2 laps, though, at the Nürburgring 24-hour layout, you've got time to make it work.
Speaking of which, because I had another look on the tyre history in terms of the strategy, and it is true. Thomas Laboutelle and Kylian Drummond used the medium tyres for 2 laps only, and not 3.
There we go.
So, I have no idea why they think that 3 laps on the hard tyres is the best strategy. But
there you go, guys.
we will see that in the end, because I would like to see myself getting wrong here.
The person behind balancing the cars does not know what's happening. he's got no idea. But I did notice, though, the tyre wear of Valerio Gallo. Those rear tyres looking very sorry for themselves already, and he's not even onto the Nordschleife yet. So if Valerio can keep us together, it's going to be an amazing effort. But I do think that I think being stuck behind the slower cars, pushing a bit too hard in that first lap might have cost him. We'll see, though. We stay with Laboutelle and Drummond. These guys have been glued together all race. Good news, though, for Laboutelle is he's got a 12-second gap in front of him. So he can just drive now into that gap. But, of course, one eye in the mirror from this man at Subaru. I mean, Mick, you know the Subaru pretty well. How do you describe the characteristics of that car?
It's like through the high-speed corners, it feels amazing because it has so much downforce, and it's the fastest car, like Group 3 car-wise, through the high-speed corners. But like here, you can see the way how Kylian uses the gear for the exit of the corners. Like you have this car, like if you want to drive the gears quite well, you have to use like way higher gear in order to use the turbo boost already before exiting out of the corner. So because of that, it's really, really tricky to extract the most performance out of the gear set. But if somebody can do it, it's Kylian.
So what we now need to look at in this race, you've got Laboutelle in 5th, Drummond in 6th position, but the gap between Serrano, Jura, etc., all behind. So the gap is what, 6.8 seconds. Keep an eye on that over the remaining 2 laps now of this race, because that is the effective battle for the race lead. From 1st to 4th, they owe another pit stop, and once they come into the pits, the lost time means that they're going to drop back into the mid-pack. Where that is remains to be seen, but for the overall victory of this race, you've got 2 hard job runners of Laboutelle and Drummond, and then you've got a plethora of soft runners all behind who are going to be, I'm sure, nipping at their heels.
No, interesting. One of those drivers, one of our new drivers, Sejak, right now in 3rd place. He's got the soft tyre left at the end of this, so he's going to bolt on the soft tyre on this last lap, and he's not too far off the lead. He'll be catching Benelli as this lap goes on that medium compounded tyre. I think he'll start catching Gallo as well, because he's going to start falling off big time, I think, towards the end of the lap. So don't count out Team Nissan. They're looking strong. He's got a lot of fuel in there as well, so keep an eye on Sejak.
Yeah, former Manufacturers' Cup champions, Team Nissan, just to remind you as well. They won it, was it last year, year before? I can't remember now. It was a little while ago. It was a couple of years ago, wasn't it? Oh, look at this, Drummond and Laboutelle, and Drummond is back through all the while we're wistfully talking about Nissan winning the Manufacturers' Cup. Drummond has sent one through on Laboutelle for 5th position then. And the thing they need to be careful of here is if they start getting involved in a battle, if they start squabbling amongst one another, it's going to cost them time. It's going to close that gap down. I mean, already, we're what, a third of a way through this lap? It's come down by nearly a second.
I mean, we talk about guys squabbling together. This doesn't happen with these guys, Serrano and Jura. I always see these guys on the circuit, and they always drive to the maximum. Even if one is thinking, oh, maybe I'm a bit quicker, he won't go for a move, he'll just stay there, and then maybe pass in a place that makes sense. So working together are the 2 Spanish drivers, Serrano and Jura. 17th currently now. A reminder, top 6 get points. Of course, you want to be as high up as possible, but sometimes grabbing a point is nice. And if you're Team Lexus, down in 11th place, not even off the board yet, this is not looking good for you in your championship retention.
Yeah, Lexus not having a particularly good run, I think, so far in the 2025 Gran Turismo World Series, and Giorgio Mangano just sort of compounding that, really. His race was sort of over by the first corner when he got caught up in all of that drama. Just a point, actually, as well, with Serrano and Jura. If you remember back to the Nations Cup in London last time when we were out, they had very respectful and clean racing right up until the last lap. But as you say, they were pushing one another very, very hard, but just not really sort of, ducking and diving and going for those dive bomb moves and working together quite nicely right up until the moment when they couldn't work together anymore.
I mean, Mick, you've raced with a lot of these guys, of course. You race them at home and, of course, these events as well as Paul Euro, I think, there finally gets past Serrano. So Euro now moving up into the lead of the Spanish duo. Yeah, you race a lot of these guys at home. I mean, when you're in this situation, you've got a lap and a bit to go. Do you sort of think, oh, I know this guy's going to give me room, I know he's going to race me, or do you think, okay, it's out the window now, it's every man for themselves?
Usually, at this stage of the race, everybody thinks of their own race in the end, because it's like you only have like one more lap to go. So why should I even work with you in the end? Unless there's somebody else in front of you who you both might catch up in the end. So that's why you both might try to work that. And I think this is also the case for Paul Euro and Jose Serrano, because we might see another position change at the end of the Döttinger Hill between those two, so that they can also try to minimize the gap to Kilian and to Timos as much as they can.
Gap down to 4.5 seconds now between Le Boutelet and Drumont, as well as Jura. So, you know, that gap, as we said, it's shrunk by 1.5 seconds over the course of this one. Gallo's Dunlop tyres, though, are going to be crying out for mercy at the end of this lap. He's got to come in for the hard tyres at the end of this one, which is going to put him a bit further down the order than he would like to be. He's got Lucas Pinelli, who, as we can see, is on the hard combat of tyres, and those two tyres are nowhere near one another in terms of the performance. About 9 seconds it is between the pace difference over the course of this lap. So that just goes to show you how worn out those soft tyres now are and how much performance it's costing the Italian.
This is typical Valerio, though. He just maximised everything. Usually goes over the line, but he will have a go. Like, he will never just go, oh, I'll play it safe. Always goes for maximum performance to Gallo. But right now, as you say, he's going to be really struggling with the rear of that car, just getting that power down, letting the car, you see it's just moving out the corners. Luckily, then you've got a couple of corners left and a huge straight, so that'll keep it there. But yeah, it's wide there. But Nelly's through, he just can't hold on anymore. Those soft tyres have just fallen off. But do you reckon he got the best out of that? Do you reckon that was a good gamble for him, Mick?
Not really, because at first he also got hauled up by Paul Euro, I believe it was, where he also lost a lot of time there. And now, due to the end of the second lap, where the soft tires are not even there anymore, basically, you were able to see how close Lucas Bonelli was like behind Valerio throughout the entire lap.
I really think, I'm looking, sorry, we have access to the fuel numbers here. I'm sorry you guys don't at home, but right now the person with the most fuel in the top 4 is Sejak, by quite some way. He's got 20 litres of fuel in the car right now to 6 and 4 and 7 from Jesus. So, although Gallo is getting by here, there'll be a pit stop for the top 4 now, and I think we're going to see the Nissan driver probably come out in the lead.
Yeah, he'll come out in front of that group of drivers. Where will he emerge, though, in relation to everybody else that's behind? Because they've got about 10 seconds or so. Look at this, though. Side by side as Gallo tries to fight it back against Lucas Bonelli. They're both going to come into the pit lane at the end of this lap. They've got no choice. And how's this one going to work out in terms of fuel? Well, Gallo's got a couple of litres left, less in his tank compared to Lucas Bonelli. Sejak, as we said, is the outlier here. He's done a great job of just sort of being a bit anonymous in the middle stint, but saving fuel quite nicely.
And saving the soft tyre as well. Drumont and, of course, Le Boutelet will go on to the last lap, but they are going to be chased now by a hard-charging Sejak on that soft compounder tyre. Let's see what he can do.
Yeah, one lap of soft tyres is going to be a very welcome sight indeed. So let's see how this one is going to work out. So Drumont now goes through and into the lead. Le Boutelet as well. Valerio Gallo's going to emerge back onto the circuit, but where is Sejak? He's up into, what's that, 6th place, but he's got a brand new set of soft tyres relative to those in front who are a lap old. So he's going to be surely right on their heels and snapping away.
Right, so we have Serrano and Jura both out there on that 2-lap, or will we now, a 2-lap old soft tyre. They will come off towards the end. Drumont and Le Boutelet out there on what is a 3-lap old hard tyre, so they're going to have tyre life, but it might fall away from them still.
But what we saw at the end of that last lap between Bonelli and between Gallo, the soft tyre and the hard tyre, when they were really towards the end of their life, pretty even in terms of performance. So this is pretty much anybody's guess. At the moment, it's advantage here for Serrano and Jura, but how much tyre life have they got left? Are they going to be able to eke it out to the end of this lap? This is where the tension has begun to build. It's begun to bubble up, and surely it's going to boil over before the end of this race.
I mean, I thought Sejak was a little bit slower than he was there, but I thought it was a bit closer, but not quite there. But Mick, I mean, all the cards are on the table now. Call a winner. Put it all on red.
I still have to be a bit analytical. Was I thinking like an expert here? But you have to think that Serrano has to try to pass through Thomas first.
Yeah.
So automatically, because of that, he's going to end up losing some time, which is going to help Kilian. So Kilian is potentially in a really, really good position because we already saw on the previous lap how much Valerio was struggling towards the end of the lap, on the second lap on the softs, and how close Lucas Bonelli was behind of him because of that. So it's going to be really close, but I think Kilian has got this.
There you go. Well, Mick, mate, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
Great. Good to get your actual expert analysis up and not just guessing time.
A man who knows what he's talking about for once in the commentaries. Mick Gazal joins us here. Thank you very much to him. So we are now on the final lap of action here at the Nürburgring 24-hour layout, and it is Kilian Drumont ahead of Thomas Leboutle. Both those drivers on the hard compound of tyre. 2 seconds the gap between themselves and Jose Serrano, with Pol Jura just a few tenths of a second down the road. I have to say, Jimmy, I think Sedjak's race depends on how quickly he can dispose of Kai de Bruyne in 5th.
Yeah, I got to say, I thought it was a bit further on the road than he was there, so I got a little bit too excited for that one, I think. But the two guys at the front are going to be running the slowest, well, for a little bit anyway. You know, we've said about this soft tyre doesn't like going a second lap, but Serrano, Jura and Kai de Bruyne, who's in 5th place right now, 6th place, Sedjak's by. Sedjak's got by Kai de Bruyne, so Nissan now up into 5th position. And next car on the road after the battle for 3rd position. So let's see. We'll keep an eye on that as the sun starts to go down here at the Nürburgring.
Yeah, well, 5 seconds a gap, you know, you'd say that, well, that's not enough time to catch up. 5 seconds a gap, you know, you'd say that, well, that's not enough time to catch up. But this is the, you know, the final lap. This is the Nordschleife. But 5 seconds, it's not that difficult to sort of close that gap down over a lap as long as this one. Let's see the move then for the Polish driver in the Nissan against the Dutchman in the Toyota. He's going to switch it back to the inside. That is beautifully smooth there. De Bruyne just gives him racing room on the inside, and smooth and sweet, as you like, for Mikolaj Sedjak as he elevates himself up into 5th place as he chases a podium down for Nissan here.
That was lovely. Lovely move. You just carry the speed there and just up the inside of the armband. Nothing they can do by the time they see you move done. So, the Leboutle falling off the back of Kilian Drumont, of course. At the moment, that will be 6 points for Team Subaru, 5 for Team BMW. Keep their dream alive, but that will be a double win if Kilian Drumont can keep this going for now. Behind them, Serrano and Jura, the Spanish duo, both on the soft compounder tyre, but they're on lap 2 of that soft compounder tyre, which means to about now it's going to be feeling pretty second-hand. But then behind them, to keep things even more interesting, is Sedjak in the Nissan there on brand new softs and driving fast right now.
Yeah, just looking at the sector times, it's pretty even between the two hard and the two soft runners at the sharp end of this one. 46 6s and 7s. Mikolaj Sedjak on the new soft tyres, 45.8. That's in sector 8 on this lap. That's the most recent one that the drivers have gone through, just to give you an idea. So he's, you know, nearly 6 or 7 tenths of a second quicker. He's decreased the gap down to nearly 3 seconds. He is going to be all over their rear wings to the end of this one. The question is, though, are we going to see Serrano and Jura closing up onto the back of Leboutle? They're now closing up onto the back of one another and going side by side as Jura goes ahead of the Porsche. Now, has Jura got enough in his pocket to get onto the back of Leboutle and Drumont for the victory here?
So here we go then, up into the last lap here at the Nürburgring. Into the night, lights illuminating the greenhouse. Kilian Drumont there, spit of flame from the exhaust from the BRZ. It's been a great drive from both of these drivers. Both Subaru and BMW have knocked it out of the park in terms of consistency, but now they're on that slower tyre, the hard tyre. It lasts a long time, but it's not fast. And Jura and Serrano, I think actually, if anything, the charges sort of come to a little bit of a halt. They haven't quite got that same speed they had before earlier into that. But I'm still keeping an eye on 5th place. Sedjak there on that new tyre. Through here, this section, very, very mechanical grip dependent. So if your tyres are good, you're going to be fast through here.
I think that Sedjak could be on for a podium here. I don't know if the victory is going to be quite on the cards, but I think a podium could be a possibility, which on his debut in the Gran Turismo World Series would be a very welcome result indeed, for not only for him, but also for Nissan. He's just 18 years old. For not only for him, but also for Nissan. He's just 18 years old, is Mikolaj Sedjak, and this has been a brilliant strategy call so far. Drumont and Leboutle sitting pretty even Stevens at the sharp end of this one. Let's see De Bruyne. He's lost a place here to Lucas Bonelli. There's contact, more contact, a little bit more contact. Oh, it's fairly robust. It sends the Brun off onto the grass on the outside, and Benelli getting pretty robust there, finding his way through.
I don't know if he was there, Tom, for that. It was only just on the rear bumper, but that's not our job to think about it right now. Our job is to look at this as we now come through Flansgarten for the first time. Hop goes the car into the right hand, using that high-speed aero grip of the BRZ. 1.1 seconds is a gap. Now, Drumont knows if that gap is any less than like 7/10 or so, he's going to be a sitting duck on that straight, so he's pushing hard for this last section. Can the Boutelet give an answer in these last few corners before the Donjahur?
I think it's going to be tough for Le Boutelet. Again, pretty even in terms of the tyre wear. Jura and Serrano's challenge is going to be coming to an end, but look an eye out in the background. Cue the Jaws music, because Mikolaj Sedjak in the Nissan is now all over the rear wing of Jose Serrano for 4th position. He's about half a second or so away, and there's one big long straight remaining, and now you can see just how close that gap is between the 3 machines and the 3 drivers. Jura in 3rd in the Mazda, Serrano in 4th in the Porsche, Sedjak in 5th in the Nissan. They come onto the Donjahur for the final time. Le Boutelet versus Drumont. The gap is about 1.5 seconds, and they're out of slipstreaming range as it stands for now then. So if Drumont can just keep himself on the straight and narrow, it's all eyes on the battle for the final podium place. And here we go then. Serrano splits the middle, Jura as well. But here comes Mikolaj Sedjak on the inside in the Nissan. Has he got the straight line speed? Has he got the advantage to try and use it? The headlights illuminating the darkness as they blast their way down at nearly 300 kilometres an hour, 3 abreast. Sedjak on the inside, Serrano in the middle, Jura on the outside as we come over the rise. Jura gets through and into 3rd. Serrano versus Sedjak for 4th place as they come into the final corners of this race. And are they going to make it? Sedjak goes through on the outside to the checkered flag. Kilian Drumont takes victory for Subaru here in Berlin ahead of Le Boutelet, and 3rd for Mikolaj Sedjak for Nissan. What a phenomenal end to this race on his debut in the Gran Turismo World Series. Mikolaj Sedjak gets a podium position. Absolutely fantastic.
What a move from Sedjak. That's move of the race right there. Just switch back on the last possible moment, and you know Paul Jura saw it, was like, oh no, he's there. Use the grunt of the GTR, and 3rd place on debut for the 18-year-old here in the Manufacturers' Cup. What a result there for Sedjak and Team Nissan. But of course, your winner, Kilian Drumont, Team Subaru, take another win here in the Manufacturers' Cup. Le Boutelet 2nd, and Nissan and Sedjak 3rd. Thoroughly enjoyable race here, and of course another one that was down to strategy.
Yeah, big up, guys. I've been Kraz. That was GT World Series. That's right. We'll be back tomorrow with some more of this, and hopefully we can do it the right way round. That's right. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you soon. I've been Kraz-e, Kraz, K-R-A-Z, Kraz-e. That's me.